Welcome once again to the north of Italy, the enchanting valley of Livigno. 12 kilometres stretching across two mountains here on the Swiss-Italian border. Once again, we're not blessed with too much snow around, but once again, the organisers have done a fantastic job to get today's race all ready and set to go. 24 kilometres down from the 35 that we would have wanted, of course, but as I say, this is a tremendous setting, location, all through the year really. You can do a lot of hiking, mountain walking in the summer, biking as well. It's not just a winter sport location by any means. The altitude as well, all the way up to around 3,000 metres above sea level. Down in the valley, we're at about 1,800 metres above sea level. And with the neighbouring Trepale, Livigno today is a premium level alpine holiday resort as well. You can just look out from our trailer where our commentary box is. You can see there the blue Visma Ski Classics trailer and some guys warming up as well around the track. But you look from the main village as well, where that duty-free location is, all the shops there. Also here 115 kilometres of slopes normally and around 30 kilometres of cross-country ski trails. But as I say, the lack of snow means those numbers are a little bit historic for the moment at least. Teemu Virtanen alongside myself, Guy McCree again, to take you through this one. Teemu, whenever you come here, I mean, it's a fantastic location, isn't it? All the way through the year, there's so much to see and do in Livigno.
Of course, it's a beautiful place, and it's actually a training center for a lot of the national teams. I know that some of the Finnish national team members are coming here after this weekend just to train, and why not? I mean, the track is in a good shape right now, and I'm pretty sure that's going to hold. You know, it's so hard, and you know, it's pretty cold in night, so. As you said, unfortunately, we don't have the natural snow here, but we'll have to go with this. But it's really beautiful and beautiful weather, and actually skied the track. You know, yesterday I had a chance to do that, and I have to say it's a really nice one, and particularly for today. And we're going to talk about it a little bit later on because it's going to be much harder than for yesterday's prologue.
Yeah, we're taking in, you're touching on it, some of the great work. See some of the tractors and heavy-duty machinery, the work they've had to put in. There is some of the alpine slopes as well, downhill slopes, and the ski lifts are working, but it's really very, very limited up there. There's a few runs that are operating up to Montellino, for example, the big black run there, for example. Yeah, it's a slightly unseasonal look. You would expect end of the first week of December in northern Italy on the Swiss-Italian border to have a bit more natural snow around, but we don't. But we still have a race here, Sgambeda, that we're building up to. It's, of course, the second stage of the Visma Ski Classics for 2015-2016. We had the Pro Team Tempo, team time trial yesterday, the first stage. That's now in the books, and now the skiers can really, while Teemu, naturally they're skiing for their teams. It's a little bit changing dynamic today because yesterday was all about the team. Today now you start to think about your individual ambitions as well.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case here. You know, we're still talking about the ski sports, which is individual in nature. You know, of course, they have the teams, they represent their teams, and they get team points as well, just like yesterday. But now this is an individual race, you know, and it's going to be a tough one, a really tough one, because as I said, the track is good and great, you know, but not really designed for a long-distance skiing like this. First of all, because it's quite narrow. And it's a bit more technical today than it was yesterday. Yesterday we had a pretty flat 5K course, and we only had like maybe there at the time, you know. Now I think we have like 150 skiers there, so it'll be interesting to see how they're going to manage there, you know, the curvy downhills, you know, and about 37 women. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how this goes. But you know, it's great to have, you know, this track here, and the conditions are perfect. You know, it's going to be a really fast race today.
Yeah, for sure. As we look out, as I say, into this beautiful valley, this setting. It is always great to come back here. Second year that we've kicked off the Ski Classics here in Livigno. Last year was the first time. This race, of course, Sgambeda, has a lot of history going back over many years, but in 2014, that was the first time that it came under the Ski Classics umbrella. Very, very last year, Teemu, with that. As much be going up into the mountains to Grassi degli Agnelli, which is 600 meters up. I mean, we take a look at the course profile now here. I mean, this brings it to bear. little bit more bearable, isn't it, for the skiers than what they would normally have to face here?
Of course, because the original course is really tough, because you climb up all the way up to the mountains and then you come back and it's a really fast downhill. Now we don't have that, and the skiers don't have to worry about that. But then again, we are high up. This is about 1,800 meters above the sea level, which is still, pretty taxing for these skiers. And you have to do this loop 4 times.
Here is the course. We'd like to hear your thoughts on it, because of course it is changed. It's been put together. Take us through. It's a 24-kilometer course in all, but as you say, a number of loops to make that up.
Yeah, it's a 6-kilometer loop, almost the same as yesterday, except we have an extra loop, which makes all the difference, because there's a long, actually 2 climbs there. There's a long climb, and just before that there's a steep climb where we most likely going to see some herring action, so to speak. And then there's a long climb. You can see it over there in a corner, and then right in the beginning we have a kind of a gradual long climb, but that's not going to be that much of it, that tough, for the skiers to do. But that extra stretch that we have there, that's definitely going to be pretty demanding, at least for women. Most likely we're going to see some women using kickbacks this time around, I'm pretty sure.
Should have also mentioned as well, we'll dwell on it more when it gets into the race. We saw there as well the 2 sprint checkpoints as well, 6 and 12 kilometers. They've been adjusted somewhat from the original course, but still 2 sprint checkpoints. Those of you who are new to Visma Ski Classics, we have a green sprint bib competition for the men, and there's basically a series of sprint stages, sprint points up for grabs through the season. The first 2 of those stages in the battle for the green sprint bib will take place today at 6 and 12 kilometers. More on that to come when we build up to them, but it is another competition today. The women don't have a green sprint bib, it's just for the men, but that will be, as I say, marked out for you, first at 6 kilometers and then the second at 12 in the battle for that green sprint bib. The other thing to tell you about, you see the women out here getting ready, because we're about 8 minutes or so away from the start of the women's race. The women get, Teemu, get a slightly head start, if you like, overall. They start normally in most of the Visma Ski Classics races about 15 minutes before the elite men. That's the case here. At 9:45 local time, the elite women will start, and then at 10, the elite men. The thinking behind it seems to work very, very well. It's just to give the women a bit more profile at the beginning of the race as well, for their ambitions.
Yes, of course. That's kind of like the new development that we're seeing in the long-distance skiing, which is really good that we get more exposure to women as well, because they used to ski among the men, which they still do in Vasa a little bit, for example. And there's been some complaints about that, because sometimes women can get some extra help, from male skiers, and some of them even had, at least in the past, they had some, what they call the like a support skiers, men skiers, supporting them and making sure that the female skiers, the elite ones, had all they needed for the race. But of course, in a setup like this, you don't have that. You skiing against your, the other women, which is good, I think. And it works well, because we get to see them and follow them much easier than if they were just in the big group, with men.
Yeah, they do. They get obviously overtaken at some point in the race. That varies from race to race, but they do get a lot of time, because when you give them 15 minutes, it's going to take even the top guys a little bit of time to make up that ground overall. So it does mean they get the 15 minutes, but they also stay out in front. I guess the dynamic though here is, though, with loops overall, you're going to get issues there that you wouldn't normally get on a longer, more typical cross-country track.
Yes, let's see how it goes, but I think the idea today is to make sure that the women have a really nice head start, and they would be in the second lap when the men get started, just to make sure that they will not be chased right away. So most likely we'll see the women crossing the finish line way before the men do, which is good then, because we can have a focus on them and then have the men do their race.
Looking out from the main church towers here in Livigno. Hopefully setting this and back into the main valley here, which is where the action will take place. As I say again, the normal 35-kilometre course, we go up into the mountains to Grassi degli Agnelli. None of that today. It is all pretty similar, around 1,800 metres above sea level here, as we are in the valley in the main hotspot of Livigno. Although it's not very hot today, -5. It's getting colder, has to be said, over the last couple of days here. So prospects, I suppose, for the rest of the season, for the various things here, that they might get some snow reasonably soon, some real snow. But you take a look out at this course. Just want to get your thoughts first of all. You touched on the fact you've been skiing this course, this loop, before we see the women, before the women start. Just some thoughts on that. We'll develop them. But what you've been gathering, Teemu, out there skiing this loop.
That was actually a pretty nice view over the course, and you could see where the climb is. It's actually a pretty tough course in a sense, because it's a really fast course, and then you have that, climb up there, and then you have to come down really fast. So you have to keep a really fast tempo all the way through. It's going to be really fast, conditions today as well. So, like, the guys said yesterday when I interviewed them, that the flats are not that easy to ski. It's it's much easier when you get a little bit of a recovery time in downhills. But now you don't really have that. You have like one kind of a long downhill, but it's kind of curvy, and in a pack like that, you have to be careful that you don't break your poles and skis and all that. So it's a very technical course as well. So it's a short distance though, so it's nothing to compare with the long ones, of course. But
so we take a look at the start list. The elite women, of course, another thing about Visma Ski Classics, the great thing that amateur skiers can ski in the same race alongside the pros, but we will concentrate on the elite skiers. Sorana Bonner, the winner of 12 months ago here, very, very different course. Can she repeat it today? Of course, 3-time former yellow bib winner in the Ski Classics. Britta Johansson Norgren, very good ski from her yesterday in the time trial. She was 4th here last year. Katarina Smut, the defending champion, beginning her bid, her title defence. She was 2nd here 12 months ago. Some of the other skiers, a lot of good quality. This women's field, Teemu, just gets stronger year on year. And you look down this list, there's an awful lot of good quality skiers in the rest of the field.
of course, and we have Justina Kovalsik, and most likely she will be the winner today. Unless something happens to her, we have to remember that she did a perfect, wonderful race in Vasaloppet last year. Beat everybody by several minutes. So, and she's a World Cup skier, world-class skier. So this track should suit her pretty well.
Yeah,
so definitely going to see some good action from her.
Yeah, Justina Kowalczyk added to the list, skiing some races for Team Santander. A season winner, as you say, at the Vasaloppet, her Ski Classics debut. Take another look from another view of another angle of this loop, and as you say, to the right, basically, this new addition to what we saw yesterday. Maybe the viewers watching the time trial, that's the bit you were talking about, the addition to the course to get it up to 6 kilometers on the loop.
Exactly, and you see the downhill as well, how curvy that is, actually.
Yeah. So some of the top women, we've just seen their names and everything. They're out warming up at the start line. Headed, of course, by the defending champion, Katarina Smutna. Many others warming up at the moment. The start just a few minutes away, actually. It's funny how it just ticks round. Time flies, really, when you're having fun. And these skiers will be keen to get it underway. A little bit less... you can see the start times just being delayed by 5 minutes. Gives us a few more minutes to set up, really. But I think Teemu, maybe a little bit fewer nerves for some of these elites, because they've got the time trial underway yesterday. They've competed in that. A little bit more relaxed today, because I picked up a bit of tension yesterday ahead of that time trial with the women in particular.
Of course, because a lot of pressure was on them, because they had to ski by themselves, and men were kind of counting on them and the times that the women put in. But of course, as we said earlier, this is an individual race, and this is the first one, in the season, where they kind of fight against each other. So yes, in a sense, they're a bit more relaxed, of course, because they kind of know where they at right now. But then again, it's a tough race. It's very different from a regular long distance race, and even from the the original course. So we're most likely going to see some surprises here, and skiers know that that anything can happen on a course like that. So it's not something that they're really used to. This is very different.
Yeah, no, it is very, very different, and different challenges for them to deal with. Simonetta Carbogno They're of the Team Excalibur Little Sport team. There are some additions, some skiers who didn't compete in the Pro Team Tempo yesterday who are getting involved. We'll go on to develop that more and more. But we are dwelling a lot on this loop because it is very, very different. Maybe you've watched Sgambeda over the years. You watched 12 months ago. This is a very, very different course. It's fantastic they've put it together. It's funny actually, Teemu, that they have a race in the summer, the Districts Trophy they have here, where it's in the end of August and they have a cross-country race here. And they bring in the artificial snow into the centre of town and they have a race, and they bring in Norwegian skiers as well, come down and do it.
Oh, really? In the summertime? Wow.
Yeah. So that shows anything can be done. And my point is with it, they've done it again here because this is just great to look at this. As you said, the additional bit to the course as well. The organisers did a great job. We keep dwelling on it, but without them, without their efforts, we wouldn't be commentating, wouldn't be watching a race here. It would have been cancelled at the end of the day. So. Yeah.
I really have to agree with you because I've skied on many artificial man-made tracks, and this one is really hard, really good. It's a really nice track. I was surprised when I, did skiing yesterday at how good it is actually, in terms of snow and the hardness of the snow and so forth. So they've done a really good job because quite often tracks like this, they get kind of mushy and it's really because it's artificial snow, but that's not the problem here. The only problem is, that it's a bit narrow, of course, with the, for women maybe it's okay, but for men, we might see some, some accidents there and some collisions, but let's keep our fingers crossed, hope that won't happen, but we'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed for that, but that's all to come, of course. As you can see there, the women's race delayed, just starting in a few minutes' time, but delayed by 5 minutes or so, just setting things up still here.
Yeah, that's because we want to make sure that the women won't be on the third lap when men get started, because then they're going to be pushed away pretty quickly if the men, the herd of this hungry hungry men come, just ski over them.
Getting ready now though, and you can hear the atmospheric build-up. Of course, the new anthem, music to accompany a new season. Visma Classics, the title sponsor company. Stretching other sponsors on board, of course, first time this season, Polar. Release on board, and Saltdoshiter as well, the sponsor of the green sprint bib. More on them to come. Norwegian house manufacturing company sponsoring the men's green sprint bib. Nordic Bet as well we've got with us as an official partner of Visma Ski Classics. Reminder, vismaskiclassics.com, the place to go to live coverage of the races, interviews. Teemu as well writes up everything, all the bits and pieces if you've missed out and you want to know what's gone on. And the live odds as well. Nordic Bet, our official partner, if you want to get involved on that side of things as well ahead of the races. But not long to go now here. Slightly delayed start to this women's race, but the elites are almost set and ready to go. We get a final look here before we begin at this 6 kilometre loop. Not going into those mountains, not going up to Grassi degli Agnelli today, but it still promises to be an exciting race here. All will be skied around 1,800 meters above sea level, right here in the valley, this enchanting valley of Livigno, close to the Swiss border.
And it's 4 times physics.
4 times, yeah, to make the 24 kilometers overall. You see some of the top numbers there. I suppose the ones to look out for, we've already mentioned Katarina Smutner. She's wearing 5:03. Sorana Bonner, the defending champion of this race, 5:01. Justina Kowalczyk, 5:13, but we will count those for you as well as we go on. We see Annika Löfström there as well, who's looking for a big season after being a bit disappointing, to be honest. I think Swede would admit last season when she'd signed for Team Expert, formerly Team Coop at that point, but she seems to have trained well. And we think this is a course actually that will suit her with her double poling power. We'll wait and see on that, because it's a quality field. It's going to be tough to get on that podium today. I think in this women's field, we say this year on year, and same again. First of the classics, if you like, of the season in Visma Ski Classics, first of the big races, and what a field we've got in this women's race. Headlined by the woman in yellow, Katarina Smutner of Team Santander, the defending champion. We have Tuva Toftel-Stava of Team Expert, wearing the youth bib. She didn't win it last year, came second, but Tone Sundvaldal is now not eligible for that, so she takes over that bib. Some of the real leading lights that we'll be dwelling on over the next hour or two. And over the season, of course, likely to be in the shake-up for the big prizes come the end in Aura at the beginning of April. A long way to go before we get to that stage. Many races, many kilometres to be skied, including here. They wait, of course, for the starter's gun.
A little bit of a nervousness can be spotted there.
Yeah, they just want to get going.
Yeah,
you can understand that.
Why this extra 5 minutes?
They're underway, though. It is the start of La Sgambeda for the Visma Ski Classic season 2015-2016. The women with the head start, 10 minutes or so over the elite men, but they are underway. Guy McCree alongside the 24-hour world record holder, cross-country skiing, Teemu Virtanen, to take you through this one as we take a look over this 6-kilometre loop that has been constructed beautifully, artificial snow, but beautifully put together by the organisers here in Livigno. Luca Moretti and president of Livigno Tourism, but his team have done a fantastic job to get this together, and we see the elite women in the early stages here on the first of what are 4 loops to make a 24-kilometre total course here for the La Sgambeda Classic, second stage of the Visma Ski Classics for 2015-2016. Anything you're looking for early on here, Teemu, in these, you ski the course and everything? Is it just a case of just getting your grounding in these first 1-2 kilometres, or are you looking to do any more than that?
Pretty much so, because we can see that this is the first uphill, which it's kind of long. It's not that steep, but it's double polable completely, and then we have a little bit of a downhill after that. But you want to make sure, and you see that bridge over there in the corner. You make sure narrower long climb starts. Make the first climb and kind of feel how that goes, because you have to do that 4 times, of course.
Yeah, you can see early on, not too much to be read into this, but we see Lena Korsgren there wearing 5:05, Team Pioneer Investments Cross course. Didn't get any individual points for it, but set the best time in the team time trial for the women. Very good race from her overall there, seemed very strong through that. And she's at the head of things with Katarina Smutner in these very early stages here, just a couple of minutes gone now.
Well, we see some diagonal there as well. At least someone's skiing with the kick cracks on.
Yeah, otherwise, it was just purely double poling there, as you say, through the first climb. Just a couple of kilometres gone already. It's a pretty quick course, as you can expect. Pretty flat, as we mentioned. Which is in the valley here. That's where our commentary position is as well. We'll try and point that out for you. But they're going away from us at the moment to start with, before they come back round to where everyone is based.
You can see where they're just approaching right now, this second steep uphill. It's not that long. And tiny stones here and there. But that, iffy, and you have to be careful to make sure that you don't break the skis.
Just this section here, now that they're skiing the leads.
Here, just from here, where they go this downhill, this uphill, and the downhill all the way to the road. That was a bit tricky, but after that it is perfect. So this is the only place where they kind of have to watch out a little bit. So there was some rocks and a little bit sand here and there.
I mean, we see the leaders in these early stages. Before we dwell on them, Teemu, you've seen the field here, you skied the course. Every course is different. It's a little bit horses for courses. Some skiers prefer particular tracks more than others. Who are you looking for today? I mean, I touched on a couple of them. You mentioned Kowalczyk. I mean, it's got the wonderful quality. I mean, she's the favourite overall. Any others who could trouble her here over this course, in your view?
Well, Smutna, of course, she showed her power yesterday as well, and Britta Nugren, she's a really strong double poler, although this is maybe a little bit too short, for her, because it's a strong, very powerful, it's a really good endurance, but I think those three, of course, Serena, I don't know. She didn't really do that well yesterday, so we don't know if there's. I actually saw her outside. She looked a little bit kind of hesitant, a little bit nervous about that, you know, knowing that she didn't do as well as she was supposed to. But right now we can see her there, and of course at this early stage, you know, we'll pretty much see all the top skiers there.
No, she looked very, very strong, and it seems in very, very good spirits as well. Like she put in a very good training block in the run-up to the new season. Norgren said, mentioned to me in the press conference, of course, you can find on Visma, skiclassics.com, along with everything else, the live centre to be found there. But at Friday's press conference, I mean, she was saying to me that, you know, prioritising, as you touched on yesterday, really looking at Varsalopet already, massively so, but also recognising she's good enough and in good enough shape. She's looking at a lot of the other races as well, I guess, including this one.
Yeah, we have to remember that she did all the work yesterday. So, yeah, she's in a really good shape. And, you know, probably the next race, which if Jizerska, you know, right now there's no snow over there either, but let's hope that, you know, we get someone. So it's a much different course, you know, it's a long climb, the first 10 kilometers, and so it's a real long-distance course. So I'm pretty sure that she will do really well over there.
Some of the service team staff, we made the point yesterday, what a great job they do, what an important role they have. You dwell, of course, on the star names through the season. Those backroom staff, so to speak, are out on the course shouting encouragement, instructions, offering refreshments, new poles, everything else. They do a massively important role. And all the skiers, the pro teams, recognise that.
And this is the start of the long climb. It's pretty gradual in the beginning and gets steeper towards the end.
Just coming around that now.
And it's definitely a different tempo today than yesterday, because as they said, you know, the first two loops were really slow, and then the last one was when they really started skiing. So now it's really a different ball game today. This is a perfect view on that climb. All right, there they come.
Yeah, they're coming up now.
All right, look, Serena's using a kickbacks.
That's not surprising, is it, really? I mean, it's a shame for her. I mean, I suppose she's one of the ones who'd be disappointed most of all, actually, with the change, because she would have loved that climb, I think, of last year when she won this race. She absolutely killed the opposition on the climb up and got such an advantage that they weren't able to catch her from then.
What she's doing right here as well, you know, but yeah, she's definitely the one who's suffering from this current change, so to speak, you know, in the double pole. Oh, oops!
Oh, little fall there from Sara Lindborg of the Team SkiStart.com team there. Cost her a little bit of time. It's a course where you've got to concentrate all the way around.
And there's the herring action I told you about.
Yeah.
This is the steepest part.
Sarina Bonner now hitting the front here.
And this is the steep downhill.
Great bit of work from there up there. I mean, her technique is wonderful, isn't it? Coming up the climbs. That's why she'll be very disappointed in a way. There isn't more of that in the course.
Yeah, and that's the only spot where she can actually use that for her advantage. Other than that, you know, it's a pretty flat course.
Come through now, downhill here.
This is good. You can see that the curve. And for women, this seems to be okay, you know. But we'll see when the men come, you know, when we have the 100 men, the first curve.
Yeah, they're just actually coming back towards us now, a little bit quiet, because from our position, the trailer, I can just pick them out now. Coming out from that bridge, the far end coming over that. Now they're coming around some of the leaders. Brittany Hansen, Norgren is hit the front. Good pace to this race, isn't there, early on?
Yes, definitely.
Real
much different from yesterday.
Yeah, real jump in intensity, as you were kind of suggesting, Temi, yesterday. The time trial's important, but also naturally you're keeping a little bit back for Sgambeda, and obviously today they don't have to do that. They just concentrate on the race. No Ski Classics race till second week of January, so leave it all out there today.
Yeah, I think they're pretty much approaching this as a short distance race, like a 15K race. That they go as fast as they can right from the beginning.
There's some of the leaders. Katarina Smutner at the head of things. That yellow bib that she's proudly wearing, that she won, of course, when she was with the Silvini Matsus team last season, but now having switched to Team Santander. I mean, they're a frightening outfit, aren't they? They've got her, but they can just come in and add Justina Kowalczyk today. You know, the other teams are just thinking, what have we got to do to deal with this, to live with this?
Yeah, it's a tough team.
Of course, that team led by Marius Otterstad and Magne Dahlen taking on more of the kind of the day-to-day running of it this year. But Niels, great guy, is still very much coordinating. I know he was involved a lot in the big signings that they made. Think of on the men's side of things, they're not going to be able to use their signings as such in the men's side because you know, you think of Johan Olsen, he's not fit enough. He was the big signing on the men's side, but on the women's side, Justina Kowalczyk just come in when you've already got Katarina Smutner.
And there she is, second.
Yeah, Kowalczyk, I suppose it's the ones you would expect, really, at this stage at the moment. Lena Korsgren, encouraging from her at the moment, at the head of things with this lead pack. Skied very nicely yesterday. Of course, she has moved teams, switched teams. A lot of skiers, female skiers, switched from the Ski Pro-Am team. A few of them, Britta Norgren as well, doing that, going to new teams. In Norgren's case, to the Lager 157 ski team, and of course, Korsgren's part going to Lukas Bauer's team, the Team Pioneer Investments Craft, winning the time trial yesterday, the best time, but allowing actually Pioneer Investments to get 5th overall, which was a very good result for them in the team yesterday in the time trial. That was a big part of it. It was down to her overall.
Yeah, of course.
What is there that we really left to say about Justina Kowalczyk, who's now at the front of this group? Everything that she's done in her career. It was great to have her in last season, a commentator, the Vasaloppet being there. I mean, that's obviously the big event of all. It doesn't need her, frankly. It's bigger than any one skier, but still to have her in the women's race there. And the race she put together actually was fantastic in very, very difficult conditions there overall, because quite slushy snow in places. Very difficult.
It was so wet because I actually did the race
myself.
It
was
so wet, you know. It was actually, I think it's the warmest ever. You got up to the +8 degrees Celsius, and it was so warm. And in her case, he actually broke her pole in the beginning and lost lots of minutes, and then just started chasing, you know, the leading girls and caught him up and won the race by several minutes. You know, she did an amazing race, and she actually, I think she was overall she was like 70th fastest skier, which is the highest position of women in history, actually.
Yeah. Kowalczyk, of course, a double Olympic champion. You know all of this if you follow your skiing. Double Olympic champion, double world champion as well. Only skier who's won the Tour de Ski as well on 4 separate occasions. The Tour de Ski, I always just think, frankly, whoever wins that, you know, kudos, because that is a nuts competition.
It is particularly the last climb.
7 races in 9 days, but she has the pedigree in boosting Team Santander, of course, this year, because she'll ski. Just skied the Vasaloppet last year, but this time with Team Santander skiing this year. She'll ski a few more races as well for them. How many, we'll find out exactly, but she's here today and already really setting a good pace as well. The rest of this field to try and match the likes of Bonner and Smutner and Norgren and Korsgren there at the head of things, with the others just a little way back from them now.
And now we're pretty much on the other side of the valley. You know, we went under the bridge, and this is completely flat. So this side of the track, and there you can see approaching the bridge again. We go under. That's the road. So we on this far end of the valley.
Yeah, they've just gone away from us now, as you say. They'll come back towards the bridge, and then they'll come round to us as they come round near the start-finish area as they come towards the second of the 4 loops. Almost 5.5 kilometres now gone of this 24-kilometre course. 4 6-kilometre loops. They're just coming around now. Just interesting to see who stays with the pace here and everything, because as you made the point, it's not a very, very long race overall, so you don't want to get cut adrift too much. Not so much you can't make it up, but you use a lot of energy, naturally, don't you, in making it. If you drop off a little bit, and then that can really, really cost you in the closing stages.
Of course. And that's what Smudna is trying to do. So she realized that, you know, these four, you know, got, you know, away from her too quickly, and now she's trying to, you know, close the gap. But that's, of course, because you have to remember that, you know, the first four, they go really fast, and if you're trying to catch them, you have to go a bit faster than they do.
They're just coming by. We are at the start-finish area, but they're coming through now. You see these green sprint signings. More on that later when the men go round, because this is the 6 kilometre point. This will be the first of the green sprint bib checkpoints. The women don't have that, but it does provide us with our first split here, because this is a quarter of the way through the race. Now, Sgambeda Bonner, for the record, is there. Is it just under a second advantage? But really, it's just that lead pack, and as you say, Katarina Smutner trying to stay with it. Not a lot to separate them there, just a few seconds separating a number of skiers. Even back to Misako Ishida's just under 3 seconds behind for Team United Bakeries, the Japanese skier. Some of these others, though, now further back, it's quite a lot of work to do now already. Look at the likes of Annika Löfström, 22 seconds back from those leaders. Yeah,
the Smutna's chasing pack, they were able to, you know, catch the, you know, the first four. So now they were a big group.
What do you make of that pace? 14 minutes 40 for Bonner and basically the others. I mean, within a second or two through the first 6 kilometres.
Well, this is pretty fast. You know, remember it's a 6K, not the 5K like we had yesterday. So under 15 minutes, you know, they go really fast. So this is a fast race.
Some of the others coming through now quite a bit back, really. Victoria Melini, you see there a time for the Russian marathon team. Morovchova for the Slovenia Mansis team. She's got experience from World Cups and World Championships as well, but she's struggling, well over a minute back. As is Shevchenko for Team Futura. Robinson Pet Shop, one of the 2 Italian outfits competing this weekend on home soil in Italy. And here are the standings confirmed then through the first checkpoint at 6 kilometres. Sgambeda Bonner just ahead of Britta Norgren, just under a second. Lena Korsgren, Justina Kowalczyk and Katarina Smutner and Misako Ishida. I mean, they're all, frankly, all the first 8 are in decent touch there, as we're kind of expecting. I mean, the thing is, you can't really rule out. I'm definitely thinking with the men's race, there'll be a sprint finish there with the way that was the setup. You wouldn't rule it out with the women, though, would you?
Most likely we'll see a couple of them coming to the finish together. So not like probably in the men's case. You know, it's more of them.
Yeah, you could see a whole pack, couldn't you? I mean, right the way to the end there, 7 or 8 maybe.
Something like that. Yeah, not the whole pack, but yeah, maybe from 6 to 10 most likely, because it's a relatively. Even if I say this is a tough course, but still it's a relatively easy course for the elites.
And it's quite, presumably it's quite hard to attack decisively as well. You were talking about Sgambeda Bonner with her wax. That little uphill, she maximised that on the first loop. She's going to have to keep doing that if she's going to look to contend for this race. But particularly for men, it's going to be quite hard to mount an attacking break, isn't it, and really get away.
Yeah, that's right. So, and they all really good double polars, so we're most likely going to see a really, really huge pack, maybe even 20 skiers or so. And then in the final loop, some of them maybe, you know, the hottest ones, the toughest ones, you know, will break away. But that's my prediction. But we'll see. But it's a really fast course, and we only have this hill that they just finished, and then the other one, and that's about it. And then we have that long flat part, you know, on the other side of the valley, which is really just a flat. And you can really, you know, it's really difficult to do, you know, get away, you know, in a flat part like that.
Yeah, as Daniel Rickardson was saying yesterday, you just got to concentrate through those flats, really. You can't take your mind off it completely, but as you say, you just got to concentrate and just negotiate them.
Yeah,
really
it's really tough. But for skiers, it's tough. It's tough to ski on flat because, you know, you don't have any recovery time. You just go and you have to keep at the same pace all the time. But then again, it's really tough to, you know, to try to break away and gain some gap, you know, it's because it's flat.
Yeah, we take a look out at the course again there briefly. Into the second loop now, these elite women, of course, for the men to begin as well, for that matter. And the original timings, the men were going to start, just looking at it, some 30 minutes after. So looking on that basis, I mean, they'll be about 10 minutes away, I think, from the start of the men's race. But meanwhile, the women continue into this second loop of 4. Chrissy Johansson Nordgren now doing the leading. I think that a lot of them are just kind of taking turns at the moment to hit the front, do the hard work. We touched on this yesterday, didn't we? I mean, at the front can be a bit of a thankless task, really. Sometimes being at the front of the group, everyone sitting behind you, allowing you to do the work, just settle into their slipstream, so to speak.
Yeah, so far it's been, going pretty well because they keep changing it all the time, so which is good,
Manage the workload.
And of course, when we get to the climb, the uphill, it'll be Boner trying her best again.
But at the moment they are tightly bunched. This pack of, what is it, 3, 5, 7, 7 skiers at the moment. Spot a skier from Ski Pro-Am there a little bit further back. That might be Softwood Grafton there, a little bit further back from that group of 7. Meanwhile, of course, here, the leading men, I mentioned they were, by my calculations, about 10 minutes away from starting their race. 30 minutes back from the women. See Lise Plango there, for instance, getting ready, of course. I have the yellow bib man in the sights there. Plenty of other talents as well, for that matter. Shetley Darman there, putting in a pretty vigorous warm-up. He was interesting, actually. I talked to him in the press conference. Over the summer, did an Ironman in Switzerland. I thought, I mean, you do your 24-hour world record attempt, so I'm just wondering how this fits into cross-country skiing. I was saying to him, that's all well and good, but not surprising, he said I was a bit spent afterwards. I had nothing left for a while. I couldn't do anything.
All right.
But I think he just fancied a change, actually, over the summer. He just fancied the chance to do something different. He had a difficult season last year because he had a bad injury. Kind of ruined his season in many ways. We take a look at the start list then, headed by Anders Auckland, who, well, you all know about, one of the legends of Visma Ski Classics, former winner of the yellow bib and winner here 12 months ago as well. Jon Christian Dahl, wonder whether he's going to put a big season together. Winner of the Vasaloppet in the past, a runner-up in the yellow bib a couple of years ago. Petter Eliasson, the defending champion, is there as well, but plenty of other talent. Anders Host, the winner of the pink youth bib. We'll look for him to develop this season. He's now switched to join Team Lise Plango and Bill Impola as well. Wonder what he can do, the man for Team Expert. Some of the others as well, your Finnish guys as well in that list there as well. Teemu Antti Lampinen there, who's got a lot of experience as well to bring into this opening classic of the season. That is the start list for the elite men. They continue to warm up, as I say. They're about 8 minutes away, we think, from the beginning. There is Anders Host, now with Team Lise Plango. Big signing for them, really. He's in the summer. Big favourite to win that pink bib again, frankly. Pink bib, you've got to be under 26 years of age. Of course, he is still that. He's a real talent, isn't he? I mean, to be only 24, and we're thinking this season he might be in contention for a podium or two, we think, in the main races. Such is his quality.
Yeah, it's good to have, as I said earlier, it's good to have, youth injected into ski classics as well. But, usually when you get over 30, that's when you're at your best, for long distance skiing. You need the years, you need the experience, then the training, the hard training. But in a course like this, of course, it's the youth plays a big role. Because it's not really that long.
Really ramping up the music here, aren't we, for the lead guys on the start line. Petter Eliasson, the man in yellow, the standout last season, winning the last 4 races overall. But this, in many ways, was where he announced himself. Start of last campaign, where he led the race, actually, up the climb that we don't have today, up Grassi degli Agnelli before. He was skiing with wax on that occasion. Wonderful classic technique skier that he is. But Anders Auckland rather destroyed him at the top of that climb and then into the downhill, and he faded somewhat. But of course, second half of the season was all about Eliasson. Øystein Pettersen, he admitted that he came in last season, of course, gold medalist, sprint champion. Didn't really have the experience of long distance, but learned a lot last year. I think he's got big ambitions to maybe try and take that yellow off Eliasson this season, but he wears the green that he picked Andreas Niergaard to last season. That green sprint bib. It's all up for grabs again, isn't it, Teemu? A new season, all these prizes and everything, all back in the melting pot.
Of course, yes, it's the excitement. It'll be interesting to see, the men's race It's really fast. It's a really easy course for them, of course, even if you have that steep climb. But for these guys, you know, these elite skiers that are training for 5 hours, 4 or 5 hour, you know, races, you know, this is really short, but then really snappy and fast race.
Again, the nervous few moments for them. 20 seconds then. They're going to get underway pretty much on 10:15 here in the valley of Livigno. 25 minutes or so after the women. The best in the business in the men's side here, about to get there. Visma Ski Classics 2015-2016 really underway. Of course, the pro team tempo, but this is where it begins from an individual perspective. La Sgambeda for 2015-2016, and all the big guns are really there to battle it out over the next 24 kilometers. There is the gun, and the elite men are underway for La Sgambeda.
Well, that was a real gun.
Yeah, nice and loud. Peter Eliasson, of course, leading them off, the defending champion, the yellow bib holder. Real movement early on, the top men jostling for position, jostling for good position, good carry in those trails. Now they'll settle into a groove as they come towards a little bit of a climb to start with. You pointed out, Tammy, in the women's race. An awful lot of them there, and we just kind of, to start with any race with the bunch, you just want everyone through. I kind of compare it a little bit like that, cross sports, a bit like with Formula One. You know, when you start the race and the cars are there, and then you have a tight first corner with some of these races. It's a bit like that overall. You can get those crashes, little bumps.
Yeah, that's pretty much like that. You know, you have to be, one thing you really have to pay attention to is, you know, not to break your equipment, particularly your poles. Something like that. It usually happens. As you can see, there are a lot of people, the service men over there carrying extra poles just to make sure that, you know, if that happens, that you can get a replacement pole pretty quickly. And unfortunately, that happens.
See what the double polling going on. I mean, they're all going to be doing it, aren't they, on the men's race? I mean, you touched on it already. It'd be very surprising to see anyone with any wax with this course as it is. And they are then the men leading things off.
We have so many men, and we don't even have enough tracks.
Hopefully there might be opportunity for them to branch out a little bit, because it is very congested that first section.
Let's hope so. Still got a few more kilometers before they climb.
Back to the women then, because the men now underway. Of course, we'll be back with them, but the women, of course, much further advanced. They have a 25 minutes head start or so. They now are, what are they, 10.5 kilometers through their race, so approaching halfway the 24 kilometers. Reminder, of course, vismaskiclassics.com, place to go, our live centre. All the news we've been touching on, how people have done in the past. You can look at all the standings as well through the website as well. All the historical data there now is available for your delectation. So back with the men here as they just begin their race.
There's a perfect chance to check out the different techniques as well, particularly from this angle.
With them, but they're just coming down here. What are you picking up in terms of technique there early on? Anything, or pretty similar?
There are some differences. We still, the one question kind of remains is the length of the poles. You know, some tend to go with the shorter ones, and then some skiers that prefer the longer poles, like skating poles. So there's a little bit of a different schools in terms of that. I kind of prefer the kind of in between, not the diagonal poles, but not the skating poles might be a little bit too long. But depending on the technique, how fast you want to go, and what kind of tempo you want to keep on a double poling.
Jon Christian Dahl leading early on here. Now for Team United Bakeries, mentioned the former winner of the Vasaloppet, the former runner-up in the yellow bib, but struggled with his health last season, rather ruined. It's amazing we think about that with the campaign, how many skiers who would be at the head of things just struggle with illness or injury. And it's very, very difficult. Talking to his colleague, actually, Johan Scholstad, a former winner of the yellow bib last season, once he got the terrible injury just before Jezerska, came back, but it was all just really when he's coming back at Varsalop at the rest of the season, he was just trying to find his way again. The season had been ruined. And Dahl had his moments last season, but he was also not well for parts of it as well. So I think they all are just wanting to stay healthy. That's the #1 priority for as long as possible.
Yeah, that's the worst enemy usually. that's the one that you always have to watch out for. That was the man with the mustache. That's Anders Newgård. He's a really tough sprinter.
Yes, yeah, and he just missed out on the. You could argue actually he should have won the green sprint bib last year. Austin Pedersen was making that case, but Pedersen winning it in the end there in Aura, where it was confirmed with those final sets of sprint competitions, sprint stages. More on that in a moment, of course, when they come around to 6 kilometres through to the end of the first loop, because that will be the beginning of the green sprint bib for, of course, the men. With the women here now, they are much further on. Half an hour they've skied now, and they are coming back towards us again. This is to the halfway point of the race. Just looking at the speed for the second 6 here. Teemu from the first 6 kilometres, 14:40 or thereabouts. So looking on the split here, it's slightly slowed a bit, hasn't it? Overall, we'll just see how much by, because they're not quite with us yet. Just coming around past our commentary position now and to that point, and they're through it now. And what have we got there with Kowalczyk? We've got 30:29.2.
Which is kind of understandable, you know. Usually the first, in a race like this, the first lap is the fastest, and then the last one, of course. And these two in the middle, you know, they kind of, now they're pacing themselves now. Now they, you know, get rid of the main pack, you know, the pelotons, the term that they use in cycling. So now they're kind of focusing on the, you know, the individual skiing.
Yeah, it's about 15:50 for the second 6 overall there. So slightly slower overall, but actually no change really when we think about the top 6 or 7 had through the first 6. Again, through that second point, again, just 2 or 3 seconds. I mean, that's manageable. So we've still got that pack of 6 or 7 who are all up with each other at the lead of that women's race.
And now the men are in that steep part of the long hill. And they all double pole, as expected.
It's going to be interesting actually to see where Wax makes an entrance over the Ski Classic season with the men. Overall, where it might come in, it's not coming
if at
in
all.
here. That's what I'm. No, because you wrote a fantastic piece on VismaSkiClassics.com with Toni Ropponen overall about double polling, about where it's come from, where it can go to. I'm just fascinated. Viewers who maybe haven't read that piece yet, maybe you can draw out a couple of it. So it was a great discussion I think you had with him about that. Form the subject of that piece.
Yeah, he said that he realized way back, you know, like 10 years ago, that this will be the future of skiing, but it took a bit longer than he expected, you know, for this particular technique to kick in. And he said that, you know, it's most likely just taking a baby steps. You know, it's it'll definitely going to evolve and develop. You know, once skiers get, you know, stronger than they are right now, and you know the technique-wise, we're still kind of looking for the best technique, the best equipment, and all that. Once that's kind of honed and, you know, taking place, you know, then who knows how fast, you know, the skiers can go in terms of the double pole.
It was interesting. First split screen for you here, because we have both races out on the course. Morten Eder Pedersen doing the work in the men's race, but they're much earlier. Let's have a look at the women here. Justina Kowalczyk, they now into that little climb overall, and they've there is a bit of movement now in this women's race. These women are well adrift now, the rest. What do we see in there in terms of who we've got? We've got Annika Löfström there, who's struggling again. I thought that this would be a better course for her, a better day overall, and she could maybe stay with that lead pack a little bit more, but it hasn't happened for her. Emilia Lindstedt as well from Team Ski Pro-Am there in the pink, the all-female team, the only all-female team in Visma Ski Classics in that second pack at the moment, as is Aurélie Dabudik, not from one of the pro teams there, the French woman. They're finding it a little bit more difficult, this second group, than the leaders are. You can just see the comparison, how they take that little climb. These skiers, Tuva Tofdal-Stava finding it tough going today as well there for Team Expirit.
And you could also see how they get some energy there, the feeding station.
Yeah.
Of course, it doesn't really play that big of a role in a race like this, but still, 24, you need to drink something at least with some energy and
what would they be drinking typically? Because they're getting it from the protein, the protein service, particularly the bigger teams have got all of that and everything. What on the nutrition side? I mean, does it vary because the race is shorter, or?
It's mainly just the sports drink. You need to get a little bit of energy in and liquid basically. So it's not in the longer races, like Vasaloppet, the protein drinks even play a role, but in a race like this, it's just the energy. I don't even think that, maybe some of them might take some gels and stuff like that, but it's too short for that. It's basically just some even prefer water, but it's good to have a little bit of energy in it, and they usually say that it should be about 6%,
the electrolytes,
the concentration. So just to make sure that it's not too sweet, and then your body can adjust it and absorb it quickly. But that's about it. It's just a sports drink. You have different brands, different kinds.
Yeah, whatever you like. I mean, a lot of the top teams have sponsorship deals as well, I guess, with those some of those manufacturers.
They're pretty much the same, though. The taste might be different, but the contents are pretty much the same. Although one thing that I like to do, particularly for longer races, I usually add a little bit more salt, just to make sure that I don't get any cramps.
Yeah, because I guess that's the big. You want to stay hydrated overall, but then the flip side is you need to make sure through the race that your salt intake isn't diluted so much by needing to stay hydrated.
And that's what many of these elite skiers do as well.
Yeah, we have the elite here, the leading men. That's Snorri Einarsson there from Team Santander, just spotted.
And now they're catching up some of the women.
And this is where it gets a little interesting, maybe, but I think organisers have called it great, really. That 25-minute head start. It's probably averted most of the problems, because it's got the women quite a way through their race. I mean, they were, the best part of halfway through, overall through their race, when pretty much when the men were starting. So that's good going, good tactical organisation, you would say. Well, as you say, some of the women now being caught. Magdalena Meyerhofer from the SC Lehrgang outfit, the Austrian there, being caught by some of the men already, but of course she's on another loop. This is a loop course. 4 times they go around this 6-kilometre loop. All the athletes here involved.
Okay, there she goes again. Serena.
Yeah. This is what she's got to do. You've got to look to take advantage, maximise this section of the course, Serena Bonner, from Team Expert, and that's what she's looking to do, hitting the front, trying to get a little bit of ground on the others.
Pretty sure she knows this is not going to get away, but at least is trying to go as fast as she can, just to make sure that the double faulers behind her will, waste the energy.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, in terms of keeping with her, they will have to go a little bit quicker than they expend a bit more energy than they rather would like at that point, going up that uphill. Now the men coming around towards the end of their first loop. Here we go. Let's do the build-up then for the jersey that Øystein Pedersen is holding on to, because we have the green sprint bib, sponsored, of course, by Solde Schütte, the Norwegian house manufacturing company. For the first time, the green sprint bib for the men. And this is the first competition, and who's going to get it? Who's going to get the first points of the season?
Nygaard.
Not surprising there.
Andreas, second.
Yeah. Andreas Nygaard gets the first points of the season. He was second in the green sprint bid, of course, just pipped by Øystein Pedersen last time around, but he gets the maximum 40 points on offer. The top 5 skiers through the sprint checkpoints get points in the battle for the green sprint bid, and Nygaard making the perfect start, really, this season in his battle to try and win that sprint bid off Øystein Pedersen. He's got the maximum 40 points there through that first 6-kilometre sprint checkpoint. The second one to follow, the second and final one, will be at 12 kilometres of this 24-kilometre course. Every Ski Classics event, Visma Ski Classics event, has 2 or 3 sprint competitions. 2 here. It's actually just 1 last year, if I remember correctly, at 4 kilometres, where the course was very, very early on, where we think of that little climb, the turnaround. That's where they had it, but this time we've got a second. But these skiers here coming through, we're looking at their timings as a checkpoint, but they won't be scoring any points for the green sprint bib. Only the top 5 get points.
But really fast, you would say. under 13 minutes, you know, for 6 kilometers. So it's a really, really fast track and fast going. Some of the top guys were quite behind there, you know, Brink and Resak and those guys, you know, several seconds behind. And for those of you wondering who Villeneuve is, who took the the second spot in the sprint over there, he's the Finnish national team skier, really good one. So he will be doing some of these ski classic races this year, but of course he's focusing on the shorter distances and the World Cup races.
Gets his second place there overall, so he'll have a decent number of points as well. But Niergaard getting the maximum of 40 early on there. We'll get those confirmed sprint standings to you very, very shortly. The top 5 getting points, as we said. But let's just go back into the women's race, which is pretty advanced now. They're into their 3rd of 4 loops overall. Sorana Bonner didn't seem as successful that second time round as first up with that little uphill, and now she just wants to stay with the likes of Kowalczyk and Norgren and Korsgren as well. Seems to ski very well. Katarina Smith's been kind of a little bit back here.
Just like in the first loop. Same thing is happening over again.
But you just wonder whether she'll pay for that in the end, because she's going to have to put in effort here again. She won't want this to get much bigger.
Certainly she is. It's really taxing when you have to do that. Which she will do again because it's a flat part, as you can see. She's closing the gap, but you know, it's when you have to do that kind of jojoing, you know, back and forth and all the time, you know, it's really gonna eat up, you know.
It's that group now, isn't it, really? Misako Ishida at the back of it for Team United Bakeries. Reminder of VismaSkiClassics.com, our live centre for odds, stats and interviews. Really is the place to go. We keep putting you to it, of course, because it's the opening weekend of the season. Apologies if we're boring with the constant references, but it really is the place to go to get everything, not just, of course, the live pictures here. Wherever you are in the world, you can go in through the app, through the live centre, and watch the action, of course, with our commentary as well. Delighted to have you. It's 8.5 kilometres to go now. I mentioned they're deep into the 3rd of 4 loops here. 3.5 of the 6 kilometres on this 3rd loop done now, so they'll be with us fairly soon again, as they then come through and they'll start the final loop.
But certainly I have to point out that the Serena is much stronger today than yesterday.
Yeah. No, that's. I was actually just about to say the same thing, because I think she would have been a bit disappointed with the time trial effort. The team expert boys, I've actually chatted to Eric Nielsen, the team director, briefly in our trailer here. He came in before the start of the race, and I just said to him, good recovery, and he just nodded. He said overall, yeah, absolutely, because, you know, both kind of admitting that they were going to be out of the podium at that point, and because they, over the years when they were Team Cooper as well, Bonner, they're so used to her giving the foundation, giving points. In the last year in the time trial, she was excellent, and just underperformed a bit yesterday for whatever reason. Didn't go as far to ask about those reasons. Didn't want to offend him. You know, you need to keep the relationships going over the season. But no, he's in good spirits because the boys did very, very well. Rickardson and all of them, Mortenette Pedersen, they did a fantastic job to get them on the podium.
Yeah, they had a really nice tactic. They knew exactly what they were doing. They started not slow, but, you know, not too fast, and increased their pace and, you know, speed towards the end. They did a really nice final lap and, you know, took the 3rd place. But, you know, this is a delicate sport. You never know. I mean, days are different. It happens all the time. Sometimes, you know, and you don't even know why. You're well prepared, and sometimes you feel like, yeah, today's my day, and nothing happens. And then again, you might feel like, oh God, today's so bad. And then you do your best race of the season. So you never know. It's tough.
There's the standings then. We focus on the top 5 here because they get points. Niergaard with the 40 points, then it drops down to 5 for 5th place. Oyvind Fjeld there actually is a new signing for Santander, one of the younger guys getting in there, just snicking into the points. Nothing there for Oystein Pettersen. He wasn't involved in the shake-up in the top 5 there, so not the best of starts there for him. Nosiainen and Vittili and Christian Dahl. Oystein Pettersen well out of things there, just in 26, 10 seconds back.
Yeah, I have a feeling that he's not really focusing on the sprint this season. He really wants to be, you know, fighting for the overall, you know, victory. A little bit.
There, as we say, Fjeld getting the 5 points, and then it's just staggered through really. But Niergaard, the big winner, winning that first sprint stage in that green sprint bib. competition. He's going to be a big contender for it. I agree with you. I think Pedersen really is targeting the yellow to start with this time. But Niergaard, on the other hand, will probably be thinking, this green is mine. You know, if I ski properly, if I'm concentrated this year.
Most likely, although he wants to do well in the overall as well. You know, at least get some, perhaps even podium, you know, places here and there. But yes, I think he's going to focus on the sprints.
It can be tough though, can't it, to concentrate on both, to do both, because you have to put an awful lot in with those, where those green sprint competitions fall in some of the races. Maybe not such of a problem here, start of the season 6 and 12, but where they are, especially in the longer courses, it's tough to do that and also contend for the podium.
Yeah, particularly something like Vasaloppet, you know, you just have to ignore, if you want to win the race, you just ignore the sprints. You make sure that, you know, that's not in the top of your mind, you know, when you go and do something like that, because every sprint you do, you have to do really the fast, you know, the tempo, and which eats up a lot of energy, and it's not good for, you know, your overall performance. But it's good to have them here. It makes a little bit of a, you know, different pace, you know, for the race itself.
Well, it's the cycling comparison, isn't it? A little bit. The Visma Ski Classics, I think, has been inspired by kind of taking the sport forward, trying to grow it, because cycling is such a popular sport. I mean, you think Central Europe. It's also trying to make it more. We try and make it more media-friendly, TV-friendly. When you've got all these competitions, sprint, but it does have comparisons to cycling and what goes on there as well.
Oh, of course, and a really important part of the sport. So we need to have them, you know. And sometimes, as you said, you know, it works out well, you know. And races like this, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's a short race anyways.
They're done fairly quickly as well. We have the second one at 12, and they can really concentrate on the second half of the race. Those first two sprint competitions. A little look out, you see, if you're not aware of December in Livigno here, the artificial track, and then of course the countryside, where you can just have a nice walk right in the coming into the second week of December. It's not normally like this. They're coming around now here, some of the others. Coming into view of us as well. Our position really with the green sprint, but we're not directly behind it here. We're more towards the start-finish line. But here are the leading women coming around to the end of the third of 4 loops, and it's still the usual suspects. What's the timing though through here as Kowalczyk again comes through first, 46.26. So that's pretty much 16 minutes, 15.57 for the third 6.
And Smutna was second.
Just wonder with her putting in a lot of effort each time, whether that might... She's incredibly resourceful, though. I mean, I temper that a little bit with her, because she looked spent at points last season, end of races, and she'd still sneak in and get a podium at the end, produce a power finish, so you wouldn't rule that out at all. She's right in the mix here. Ishida's hanging on as well, 2 seconds behind. That's not insurmountable at all at this stage. It's still those 7, really. Sarah Lindborg in there as well. For skistart.com, Bergslagen, the team run by Mikael Belock and Johan Karst from the Bergslagen area of Sweden, Örebro. That's massive time for them, of course, last season with the World Championships in Falun in their region. But they're a growing team all the time. We talked about it before, didn't we, about this next set of teams outside of the top pro teams. And skistart.com will fancy their chances with a good season of getting through there into that next pack. So here we are through the third of 4 loops. This is how it looks, as we mentioned, Teemu. It's these 7 now. The winner's going to come from one of these 7, because you can see the others now, best part of a minute back from Justyna Kowalczyk. But we have a couple of Santander at the front, but we also have Bonner, and we have Ishida and Lindborg and Norgren as well. And there they are now. This is going to be our focus for the women's race, because the winner's going to come from one of these 7.
Yeah, and this is the final lap. So I think Serena's only chance is to go as fast as he can in that, you know, final climb, and try to get some gap.
I'm going to be really mean to you here, Teemu. You're not going to like me after this. Just under 6 kilometers to go now. We've got that pack of 7. We agree the winner's going to come from there. Who's it going to be?
Well, if you ask me, I'd say Kowalczyk, most likely. But, you know, then again, you never know. It's the...
You're looking towards me now. You don't like me so much anymore.
But she's, to be honest, I mean, she's not actually that fast in a
That's what I was going to suggest. I mean, we've seen that. I mean, she's obviously a fantastic career, but overall, I mean, people have criticised her downhill technique actually a little bit in the past as well. When you think when she's gone up against Marit Bjørgen, Therese Johaug, those kind of skiers, she struggled a little bit in the past against them, because obviously you're at such a high level there, and she's such a those sorts of, you're just a little bit touched technically below, it gets magnified overall because you're against such quality.
So maybe, you know, the yesterday's, you know, the winner, you know, Huskren could be the one.
Yeah.
Because she proved that she's a really fast one.
Oh, they're all in it, those 7 though. Even as we mentioned, Ishida. What you would say maybe with Ishida, I'm going to be fascinated to see her over these remaining 5 kilometers, because she's held up well with the group. They've been putting in a lot of time, she's been saying, actually with the guys on the Team United Bakeries team in terms of her double poling. Because her technique is fantastic. I mean, we saw that she won La Diagonella. She skied a beautiful race there. But double poling is not something traditionally that she's been strong in. So they've really been focusing in the off-season with that. And clearly, she's been good in staying with the pack. But we're going to see this in the final 5 kilometers or so, how it's really come on now, because that's really where it's going to be decided in that regard.
And in men's race, then again, as we said earlier, you know, this is what we predicted.
Yeah, it's a huge pack at the moment, but they got a lot further to go, though, of course. Story Anderson there from Santander. The Santander boys, of course, those red hats, very discernible, but all the main names are in there. This is a long way from being decided. I'm not going to ask you for a winner out of this pack. I'm not.
Not yet. It's too early.
No. If you get that right, you're on Nordic Bet and everything with all that. You don't need to commentate anymore, Temo. I think you'll be off to somewhere sunny and warm and living there, or whatever. If you can pick out a winner at this stage in the men's race, it's an awful long way to go. And all the big names in that massive pack.
Although I have a feeling that we might get a surprise winner, but we'll see. Just a hunch.
I mean, it's more likely in a way, isn't it? Because you've got such a group, the longer they stay together, and we think they're going to stay together pretty much till shortly before the end, just requires one little bit of quality at the end. As you say, you can steal the race in these conditions.
Exactly. You're just fast enough, and you just steal the thunder from the from the legends.
Coming through to the setting a fantastic pace here. The men, here we are again. He's just taking his time through here. Nice and easy does it for Fjeld. That's Nergård there actually, Santander, his teammate. So 40 points, double up for Nergård. Really taking charge of this green sprint bib competition, leading through there. Funnily enough though, I think with compared to other races, he might just keep going now. He's got 12 kilometers to go, Nergård. He might fancy himself, he's put in all that good work, got the maximum points. You're talking about number of guys who can win. I think he's right in the mix there. So he's
and he's fast.
Yeah, he's got that there very, very quickly. We've got the standings up for you here. Pedersen getting the 30 points that time. Marcus Ottesen as well for the Lager 157 team in third. Anders Auckland with some points. He won't really be looking at the sprint bib over the season. Daniel Rickardson in fifth for the record. Those boys will be looking at the yellow.
Yeah, they don't really care about the sprints, but you can see them. They are actually trying to make sure that they are well, you know, positioned, you know, for the final 2 laps.
Well, that's what's more important, really, isn't it? I mean, you were saying about guys who can win. I mean, Pedersen, I think, is going to look at this as an opportunity to win. Obviously, he was 10 seconds back. I didn't see exactly how many seconds back he was from Nergård and the rest at that point, but I think he's prioritising getting himself, just being there in the shake-up coming towards the end. Now they're into the second half. But the points are there. Nergård with his second sprint stage win out of 2, so he takes the early lead overall. 80 points for him. Pedersen getting himself in the standings as well there with 30 points overall. But Andreas Nergård of Team Santander, the early leader in the battle for the green sprint bib by Soltoshita there, the Norwegian house manufacturing company that sponsors the Visma Ski Classics green sprint bib this year. And Nergård is the early front runner in the battle for that.
All right, the final climb for women.
Yeah, back with the women. Deep into their 4th and final loop. Just over 4 kilometers to go.
And Brita's double poling really, really fast. Trying to do all she can.
instructions, encouragement being shouted here up the climb to the leaders. This is where it, to some extent, could be won and lost. Hard work being put in there by the leaders. You're a lover of technique, Teemu, here. Technique can go at this stage, though, a little bit.
Yeah, when you can get to a steep part like that, you know, technically it's really difficult because you can push really hard. You bend your knees, so when we talked about the evolvement of technique, so this is something that we have to focus on. How to do steep hills, you know.
Because it was a little bit, some of them were a bit scratchy coming up there. Seemed like they're here goes Bonner. Sorry to interrupt, Teemu, but even Bonner here is poning up here. But she's so comfortable in the hills, in the climbs, Bonner, and you can see she is more comfortable than everyone else there going up there.
You can even see Britta, who's a really strong double polar, but she's struggling.
Struggling there. Bonner needs to make this count up here, needs to open the advantage. Just under 4 kilometers to go. The Swiss, the 3-time former champion, winner of this event 12 months ago, trying to open up any sort of advantage. You don't think it'll be a telling one, but any sort of advantage will be useful as we reach the back end of this race. Lovely tuck position. It's just fractions really in this race as she tries to edge ahead of Justina Kowalczyk of Team Santander and round there, but Kowalczyk is right with her. She left some of the others though. Masako Ishida is putting together a good race here. Really good race in 3rd spot. Nordgren trying to get back at them because, as you mentioned, Sammy, she struggled up that climb with the double poling. Smutner is now, again, for the 4th time, has been left. I never count her out though after last year, but she's got quite a bit to do there now.
But now Kowalczyk will, you know, because she knows that she's not that good of a sprinter.
Yeah.
This last part, which is just flat, she's going to go flying as fast as she can. That's her only
But it's fascinating here because Bonner, her strength is not really that either. We've got them at the head of the race, neither of whom you would say. I mean, maybe Bonner can live with this overall through here. I mean, maybe Ishida can nick in. And Britta Johansson Nordgren's done a great job there to get back in with them. And she going to make a move. This is fascinating. A little group here. We expected little sprint finishes to both races. We expect a slightly bigger one, more involved in the men's race. But here...
But this is a good example of what really happens when you do double poling versus the diagonal striding. You know, of course, Serena was much faster with the kick-wax, but then again, come downhill on the flat part, you know, the double polers can, you know, catch up. And that happens all the time. And that's why the double poling is so much faster, because overall, you know, it's the fastest technique. It's going to suffer a little in uphills, but
yeah, it's going to be a fabulous finish here. They're coming back now down towards the main town here, towards us, towards the start-finish line. Just a little under 3 kilometers to go, and it's these 6. Any of these 6 could win. At the moment, really is a fabulous finishing prospect to the women's race here.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see.
In a way, you favour Kowalczyk with all of her experience, but these other 5 are right there at the moment. Kowalczyk at the head of things. Britta Nordgren just behind. Katarina Smutner's put in a shift again to get back there, but you wonder how much she's got left in the tank because all the previous loops off that climb, she'd lost a little bit of ground. She's normally so solid. And she's right there again, as is Masako Ishida from Team United Bakeries. Terrific performance from her. She's admitted her double poling, not her strong suit, but it's held up beautifully here against these other lead women. Serena Bonner now is now dropping off to the back of the pack. What you make of the odds now available on VismaSkiClassics.com. Nordic Bet, of course, our official partner of Visma Ski Classics. Try and pick a winner from that women's race, which has got about 2.5 kilometers to go now. Back with the men briefly before we rejoin the women for the death throes of their race. The men have got just under 10 kilometers to go. They're up that climb where Bonner was trying to make ground, trying to open up an advantage. And then all double poling up there, all looking strong. Well into their 3rd loop now. downhill section there. Made the climb. Not really too much to separate a group here. I'm trying to count how many are involved. So many still there. Some Montenegro Pedersen there at the back of that lead group, 5 or so. We've got quite a few others within just a few seconds. Likely to be a very exciting finish to this men's race, and likely to be even more involved there at the sprint finish, you would think. Back with the women then, through to the conclusion. Justina Kowalczyk, 5:13, Team Santander leading the way at the moment, but what a finishing prospect here to the women's race. Because we have Lina Korsgren of Team Pioneer Investments Craft, Sarina Bonner, the defending champion of this race for Team X-Spirit. We have Misako Ishida of Team United Bakeries. We have the yellow bib holder, Katarina Smutner, also of Team Santander, the teammate of Justina Kowalczyk. They are all there. We also have Britta Johansson Norgren of the Lager 157 ski team. An hour skied for them, but it won't be much longer. They're going to be coming through very shortly to our start-finish line. Finish line position here. Who is going to get the nod? It is going to be absolutely tight right to the end. For all that Kowalczyk's done in her career, she mentioned that winning the Vasaloppet on a Ski Classics debut last season was one of her biggest achievements. That's the thing with the very best, they never get tired of winning races. For all she's done in her career, she can add this. Be tremendous for her, but Bonner is not giving up the ghost either. She's putting in a shift here on the double poling coming towards the end, but how much has she got left? It's not really her strongest suit. Kowalczyk looking strong, as is Lina Korsgren, and Katarina Smutner now maybe starting to put in a push as well for Team Santander. The three of them, they're starting to make the move now. Cheering at the finish line as they come round the final bend. This lead pack, Misako Ishida is struggling to stay with them. It looks to be Kowalczyk, Smutner and Korsgren with Norgren and Bonner in hot pursuit, trying to stay with them. Under that underpass by the river in the valley here that runs through the valley of Livigno. Coming round now to the final straight, coming towards us to the finish. Who is going to get this thrilling conclusion to La Sgambeda for 2015-2016? Katarina Smutner looks like she's going to do enough here, but Britta Johansson Norgren is now coming back at her. Has she got enough? No, Smutner looks to be holding her off, and it is the yellow bib holder who begins her title defence in the best possible fashion. Katarina Smutner is the winner of La Sgambeda for 2015. What a finish to that opening classic of the Visma Ski Classic season. Katarina Smutner, question whether she'd have enough in the end. She answered any doubts about that conclusively. You never write her off. Just seems to have energy left to draw upon. A tremendous fillip for her as well to beat all those names there. The likes of last year's winner Sarina Bonner, of course. Justina Kowalczyk was picked as well. What a finish from Katarina Smutner. For Team Santander, of course, the team that she represents. Fantastic finish though to that women's race.
Justina! Hello!
Terrific race here, not for one of the pro teams, but we see wearing 521, Aurélie de Boudic of the Haute-Savoie Nordic team, French woman. She's put in a very good performance. You think of her finish time here, in the context of things, not massively behind one of those pro skiers. His winning time, you can see there, 1 hour, 1 minute, 47.7 with taking the maximum 200 points there. Perfect start to her title defence. Some of the others coming through now. Annika Lufström for Team X-Spirit struggling in that race, as did Adela Budikova for the Atlas Craft team. They were over a minute and a half back. Yeah, for all she's done, Justina Kowalczyk, she couldn't live with Smutner there at the end. She looked well placed. She was leading through much of that that final section, but Smutna just nipping in ahead of her. And an excellent finish from Britta Johansson Norgren as well. We kind of expected her, and she nicked in, and Kowalczyk having to make do with third spot in the end. Having, as I say, been the leader for a lot of that, the back half of that final loop. But just an embodiment of how this women's race continues to get stronger and stronger. The quality there at the end. Those top skiers. Really good watch, that. Of course, good friends, all of these skiers, they know each other well, tight-knit community. Meanwhile, before we look to hear from some of them, Teemu Virtanen will be speaking to the highest finishers in the women's race. We have the third split, no green sprint bib points on offer this time. We're done and dusted with that now, Neergaard having won in both of them, but this is now the end of the third of 4 loops for the men. And it's Petter Eliasson, predictably now, who has hit the front. Looks to be timing the race beautifully again, through there in just over 40 minutes. But not decisively by any means. All these guys just a few seconds back. Tora Bjorset Badal for Team United Bakeries, only just under 5 seconds back. Even going there, you can look at Antti Lampinen for Team Peltonen, 8 seconds or so back. He's right in the mix as well. Some of these other guys, I think Neergaard with his efforts for the green sprint bib is now dropping back. And probably will not be in contention for the overall stage win here, but Eliasson, we saw him last season, how often he did this. He's the master at managing his way through these tracks, these situations, timing his attacks beautifully. Wonder whether we're going to get both defending yellow bib holders winning the opening classic of the season here. Smutna having already, of course, done that. Eliasson might well match her. He's through that 18-kilometre checkpoint just ahead of Johan Skjoldstad, the 2014 yellow bib holder. And we also, some of the others there just in contention. My point I'd like to make here is actually going right back to 16th Lampinen of Team Peltonen. He's only 8 seconds back. And Stian Hurlegard, who's a very, very good sprinter as well, about that distance back. They're still in the mix there, but some of the others now, to be honest, are not going to be in contention for the podium, you would suggest. Confirmation of the women's results, the final results for La Sgambeda 2015. Katarina Smutna, who was second, of course, last year, going one better this time, opening up her title defence with the victory, winning that sprint finish. Britta Johansson Norgren nipping in ahead of Justyna Kowalczyk for second spot there on the podium, with the pole having to make do with third this time around for Team Santander. So with the women finish now, we will focus on the men's race, which has got just under 6 kilometres to go. We're hearing from the leading female finishers very soon as well, but of course our focus has to be on the men here because they don't have very long to go. They're now into the final, fourth and final loop, starting this this climb up here, one of these 2 climbs. This is the one which is not quite as steep as the other one later on in the loop, the extra section of the race compared to the prologue course yesterday. Still, by this stage, may well be taking a little bit more out of some of these skiers than it was earlier on. I think come round it on a 4th occasion. Petter Novak there from the Team Pioneer Investments Craft Team, Lukas Bauer's team. Lukas not skiing here this weekend, but he has been around. He was with us at the press conferences talking about the development of his team. Expecting big things of Novak, and we've already seen, of course, Lena Korsgren, his other signing on the women's side of things, putting in a very good performance once again, backing off the time trial where she did extremely well, setting the best time in the time trial with a good performance again today. The course has held up very well here. A little over 5 kilometres now left. Just a question, really, of, as we progress through, when they start to make a move, whether they would look at that climb which comes up later on. Someone might look to make a move there, but at the moment, an awfully high number of people involved. Morteneda Pedersen at the head of things, of course, the winner of the Jezerska Parasatka last season, his first stage win, and a multiple former winner of the youth bib. He's someone who is it's a great thing really with Visma Ski Classics. Can take younger skiers on. We see Anders Host at the moment and a few others, and they can really develop as they go on. Teemu was making the point on commentary that cross-country, long-distance skiing, really, you don't really hit your peak till into your 30s, but these guys, younger guys, kind of benefit, you feel, from the development that being in the Ski Classics brand allows them, because Pedersen has been in it for a number of years now. He's been in and around the older guys. And he's definitely someone who can win here for sure, having won the Jezerska last season. Looking strong, but so many others are as well. Double poling technique still pretty good for these guys. Even now approaching 20 kilometers in. Not the longest, of course. It's not the most difficult, but as mentioned, Daniel Rickardsson of Team Expert, for all his experience, was saying in the flats, can't really take your concentration levels down at all. It is a course where you do have to concentrate, and they will have to the end here, because there's likely to be a lot of skiers involved right to the end. Keep your wits about you. Here we go again, 4.5 then. Double poling hard up the climb. It's Pedersen there and Eliasson. So many others still in the mix. Tord Jedalen there as well. Not even wearing a hat. Of course, he's got these sunglasses on. His trademark look. And come down now. Approaching 4 kilometers to go. Just to control their speed down there more than anything, approaching that turn. This is where really just fractions, little bits come to bear. Little bits of tactical information from the service staff being shouted to the skiers. Can make all the difference, but Eliasson, of course, has been here many times before. 4 stage victories. He's on an unbeaten streak to an extent, isn't he? Because he won the last 4 races. Started off, he was surprised winning the König Ludwig Lauf. That started the run of success last season for Eliasson, because that was a sprint finish with Tora Bjorset-Berdal that he won in southern Germany. I wonder whether he can get the better of everyone else in a sprint finish again this time, Eliasson, because it's likely to be that way again. It could be very similar, actually, to the König Ludwig Lauf of last season, where memory serves me correctly, I think there were 5 involved, 5 or 6 involved to the end, and there was a stretch at the line where Eliasson just nipped in ahead of Berdal. Could be something similar here, but Eliasson looks to be managing the race, as we'd expect, beautifully at the moment. This is just this final section, isn't it, really, Teemu, now, where I'm trying to wonder where someone's going to make an attack here.
Yeah, this is the final one, and just speaking to the girls, you know, they said, you know, the last uphill was really tough, you know. It certainly is, and then the final loop, you know, it's really you're feeling it in your body.
Yeah, we'll hear of course, your interviews as well. We want to hear that afterwards, but we're focusing, of course, on the finish to the men's race, because there's not long to go at all now, just under 4 kilometers. We'll hear from the women as well as the top finishers here, whoever they may be. But at the moment, it's Eliasson there, and we have Morteneda Pedersen trying to stay with him. And Christian Dahl as well. It's the guys we would have expected, really, to be in the shake-up. Johan Skjoldstad is there as well, the yellow bib winner from 2014. Fully fit now. Talked to him on Friday about that, about the frustrations of last season with the injury. He's fully fit now, looking for a big season again. We're all going to struggle to deal with this guy and how he looks to be going. He looks like he's just carrying on where he left off from last season. 4 wins in a row. He's on an unbeaten streak. Let's remember, he's won the last 4 classics.
Exactly. No matter what the distance is, it's short or long. You know, he's the toughest guy, and he's looking really strong here.
Very good race here from Eugenie Dementiev as well, from Team Futura Robinson Pet Shop at the moment. Mention the other guys, he's wearing 37, he's in the shake-up here. But there's so many of them, as we expected. As many as 6, 7. So we ended up really, didn't we? We got 3 in the women's race right at the end of the sprint finish. Britta Norgren doing a great job there to nip in for second ahead of Justina Kowalczyk actually in that women's race. Really good loss.
Smutna did amazingly well, even if she lost all that energy on
she never seems to get tired. Yeah, just wonder whether, Tammy, we're going to get the case of the yellow bib holder winning the opening classic of this season again. Smutna having already done that. Eliasson.
And we have to remember that he's also really fast. He's a fast sprinter, you know, if he comes to that.
Well, he's amazing in a way because he came in last season, he was in with wax and everything, wonderful technique, he's got wonderful classic technique, but his double poling improved so quickly. And Henrik Kvissel from United Bakery's big rival just admitted openly Petter taught everyone else how to double pole last season. Those were his words from a rival, just openly about that. It was awesome. Some of the displays of double poling in the second half of last season were amazing.
And you can see it, you know, if you just you know, look at his technique, you know, a little bit closer, you know, you can see it's a very, you know, technically he's a really skillful in the skier. There's not that much I can, you know, say about it. It's a perfect technique.
Okay, well flip it round then. Why is it so good? If you're not criticizing things here, I'm seeing here, why is the those who don't know so much about the double poling technique.
Well, he pretty much keeps it together. That's the thing, you know. You can see it right there, you know. It's his body position is correct for that, you know. It's right now you can see he's spreading his arms a little bit, so just to make sure that he gets a little bit more strength going on in the upper body. You have to make sure that you don't do any extra unnecessary movements when you do double poling, which you tend to do when you get to the really steep uphill. You know, you bend your knees too much. You know, you might go too low, and it's.
Yeah, we saw it a lot with the women, didn't we?
Yes, exactly.
I mean,
struggling.
Their technique really went. Some of them in that final uphill, as you were talking to them about. But the men have looked pretty strong throughout this. It's not the most challenging of courses for them. They still had to concentrate, still issues there to deal with, but these guys are dealing with that. Jon Christian Dahl looks pretty strong there as well in that lead pack in the middle.
We also have Ville Peltonen.
Yeah.
Nosianen from Peltonen team.
Yes, we understood you. That's okay.
Too excited about that.
So how many have we got here? Just under a kilometre to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 10 skiers, isn't it here? 10 in the shake-up.
Pretty much what we said.
Yeah.
8 to 10, yeah.
And then you would think by the final few hundred meters or whatever, it might break up a little bit. I think you can have 6 to the line here at the moment, 5 or 6. Especially with the quality that we've got here.
Also for a photo finish.
Yeah. Well, we're in a great place. We're right by the finish line here, our commentary position, the Visma Ski Classics set up here to witness what it's like to be able to go with you, Tammy, to be a photo finish here. It was tight in the women's race, but it's likely to be even tighter here. Half a kilometre to go. And Eugenie Dementiev from Team Futura Robinson Pet Shop continues to impress here. He's right there at the moment. He's looking strong.
Could he be the surprise winner that I mentioned?
Jon Christian, he's starting to make a move here now. Dementiev. Russians, of course, with sprinting strength. You think of their history with their skiers, something that historically they've done well.
But he's a good skier. We have to remember that.
Yeah.
Could be a surprise winner in terms of Visma Ski Classics, but he's a top-class skier.
You did mention there could be a surprise winner here today, and Team Futura Robinson Pet Shop Dementiev at the head now, but the others are looking to move with him now, coming through to the end. The female finishes there out of shot. We're just going to get a look now at the finish line. Who's making a move here? We're just a few hundred meters to go. Overall, it's Johan Scholstad there, and it's Jon Christian alongside him. But who's got it at the end? It's a photo finish.
It is photo finish.
Oh, it's got to be confirmed here. Has Dahl got it for Team United Bakery, just ahead of Dementiev of Team Futura Robinson Pet Shop. It's a photo finish between those two. It's a remarkably similar finish. I talked about the König Ludwig Lauf, where Peter Eliasson was left at the end, the yellow bib holder, back in 10th, having led for so much of the final. He's well by rest. What a finish again to that men's race, and we await confirmation. We think young Christian Dahl has won La Sgambeda for Team United Bakeries. He's getting the congratulations of the rest of the guys. They think he's got it overall. That's what we think. Our initial reaction, technologies that we've got. We think that he nicked in ahead of Dementiev of Team Futura Robinson Pet Shop. Some of the others coming through now. Important points to be had here in Visma Ski Classics. Bruno de Bertelis for Team Excalibur Sport in 22nd spot. Øystein Pedersen, he'll be disappointed with that. Minute and 17 back for the Team United Bakeries man. Only 25th. Anders Host, the youth bib holder, having to make do with 26th spot. That was a fast race. Jimmy Jonsson, he's been training well, but couldn't live with the pace being set by the leaders there. Almost a minute and a half back for Team Expert. That was a very quick race, and Øystein Pedersen giving us visual representation of that. But Johan Scholstad, who he's embracing there, his United Bakeries teammate, looked very strong. Let's look back at this thrilling finish to the race. Just nicking in there at the end. Young Christian Dahl for the win ahead of Evgeny Dementiev, with Johan Scholstad completing the podium, 3rd spot. So Team United Bakeries getting 1st and 3rd place in La Sgambeda. Kind of thought that the United Bakeries guys might prevail here with the sprint finish. Their tradition, really, their traditional power is in the sprinting, and so it's proven. Scholstad, a wonderful all-round skier, as is Dahl. Dahl in particular, a wonderful sprinter. He's healthy, and he's shown it here what he can do when he's healthy. Here is the photo finish. And it's the confirmation overall that Dahl has just got in ahead of Dementiev in the end. So Johan Christian Dahl, winner of Vasaloppet in 2014, and now winner of La Sgambeda in 2015 to open up this new Visma Ski Classic season.
Molte gran fondo, è uno che si allena molto, lo spiegavo prima quando nella doppia sfida dicevo la preparazione, spesso ho detto questo nome, Bruno de Bertelis, uno che si allena molto, ha usato le colline fin da anni fa e ormai ha dedicato la sua vita sportiva alle gran fondo. Come è andata, Bruno?
So we'll be speaking now to the top men. Teemu Virtanen is going to be speaking to them. As I say, that thrilling finish to the race. Teemu now speaking to the winner of La Sgambeda, Johan Christian Dahl.
All right, congratulations. Tough race, tough tempo, and fast course. But can you go through that a little bit, sum up the race? What kind of tactic do you have before that?
Well, we tried to get one guy early on the first lap to get some green points, and I tried to help him. So there was good speed in the first, and then it was a bit slower, but still it's altitude, so you notice the speed. And Petter Eliassen did go very hard in the front in the end of the 3rd lap, and he kept up the pace in the last lap. And then Dementiev did a really strong long sprint, and I was right behind him, and I got a really good finish. He helped me up, but he was really strong, and he surprised me in the end with even more speed. And I had one chance, and yeah, it was a half meter, so very close race, but I'm happy. Yeah.
But this would mean that you're back now.
Yeah, it seems so. So it felt very good. I haven't been last race I won was Vasaloppet 2014, so almost 2 years ago. So very good feeling now.
That's going to be a goal, of course, for this coming season as well.
Yeah, sure. This is the best start I can possibly have, so it gives me very much satisfaction, and yeah, I hope to do good in the next year races also.
All right, thank you very much, and happy holidays, and train well for the next one.
Yeah, thank you.
Lui non più giovanissimo, ma con ancora tanta voglia di fare, e lo dimostra il Giorgio. C'è sempre tempo per concorrere anche gli oltre i 40 anni con la mente.
So the thoughts there of young Christian Dahl, as he mentioned, the winner of the Vasaloppet in 2014, hadn't won another ski classic stage until then. Difficult last season. He was ill at various points, but healthy, and see what he can do when he's healthy. A wonderful finish there. And he wins La Sgambeda, his second Visma Ski Classics stage win of his career. Okay, right. We now have second place here. Evgeny Dementiev, Teemu Virtanen will be speaking to him now.
No, I haven't tactics, so I feel good today. It's enough for me.
And then what about the double polling? It was pretty tough, that one uphill. Did you feel that you were strong enough?
Yes, so uphill it's I feel good too. So it's I take slow. It's for safe. It's power to last kilometer.
And then what's going to be next after this? Another long distance race for you?
Dziedzerska, 50.
All right. Good luck for that, and train well, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you.
Il livello è veramente alto, c'è gente che va forte, sono professionisti al mestiere, spingono veramente forte, hanno un modo di spingere diverso dal nostro. Speriamo che la stagione è lunga, per fare una forma che riusciamo a dire la nostra anche noi.
All right, congratulations. Tough race, really a short race, not really a long distance race, but how different was this from the other races?
Oh, it was a really hard finish, and the altitude is it's difficult. You can't race full speed from start. You have to start slow, and but I'm really satisfied with the third place, and that's good. And with my teammate Jon Christian that took the first place, that's fantastic.
Speaking of the high altitude and the double polling and the uphill, how tough was that really?
Yeah, we have trained a lot on this, so we are prepared to do it. So you just have to use the head and not to push too hard, because then it stops totally.
Okay, now the first races are over in terms of Visma Ski Classics. What's going to be next? Training for Dziedzerska, of course, but how do you do that?
Yeah, now I go home tomorrow, and then it will be Christmas and a lot of training. It's a period now you can train a little bit again, and then the last week before Dziedzerska train a little bit less, and then hopefully we'll be in good shape again.
When you say a lot of training, you mean long distance 4 or 5 hour trainings?
No, we train together in Trondheim, me and Jon Christian and Tore Berdal, and we also have Elda running home in Trondheim, so we're going to train a lot together and push hard.
Yeah, I've heard about your trainings. We're not going to get into that, but all right. Congratulations. Have a happy holidays and train well, and see you at Dziedzerska.
Thank you.
There we are then. Interesting thoughts from Johan Skjoldstad. He'll be pleased with that. He was struggling with the altitude. He said it's amazing to hear these pro skiers from Scandinavia. They do struggle with that because they don't really have the issue there. 1,800 meters above sea level here, of course, this complete course. We take a look back here. Some of the highlights from that race, that men's race won by Jon Christian Dahl in that thrilling photo finish with Evgeny Dementiev, with Skjoldstad completing the podium in third. There we are then, confirmation of the final results. A thrilling photo finish. Jon Christian Dahl just nicking in ahead of Evgeny Dementiev. Terrific race though from the Russian for the Team Futura Robinson Pet Shop team. Really strong at the end and just couldn't quite do enough to hold off Dahl. Skjoldstad mentioned he was struggling with the altitude a bit, but he's got a podium finish overall. Morten Edde Pedersen just nipped out of the podium in fourth. Yedalen and Anders Aukland completing the top 6 for Team Santander. Good ski there from Fredrik Bistrom as well for the Lager 157 team in 7th. Petter Eliasson struggling at the end. He led for most of that final loop, and he's only back in 10th, the yellow bib holder, so he really didn't have it at the end. Daniel Rickardsson as well. Not the best of races for him, almost half a minute back. And Antti Lampinen for Team Peltonen in 14th. Some of the others as well. Niergaard, well, he seemed to be prioritising the green competitions. He got both the points. He struggled towards the end. I suppose one of the big disappointments, Øystein Pedersen. We expected more from him here. Just never really featured through the race as a telling factor there. 25th overall for La Sgambeda.
But I'm really happy to see the Finnish guys doing that well in 8th and 14th.
Of course you are.
Yeah, of course. As I said, we need more Finnish skiers in the top. It's but yeah, great race. And it's, they all said that they're feeling the altitude.
So there are the results, the top 60 there in the men's. Of course, the women's race finished before that. That was almost as thrilling as well in its own way, because we had a pack right the way through to the end. We had Soraya Bono, we had Misako Ishida, we had Lena Korsgren. Of course, at the end, we had Justyna Kowalczyk pushing through, trying to get clear. Britta Norgren struggling to stay with it, but she was excellent in the end. But who was best of all? The woman who never seems to tire, the yellow bib holder, Katarina Smutner. Every time when she was coming around on these loops, she had work to do, including on the final loop. She looked like she'd left too much to do. It looked like maybe Kowalczyk would win the race overall. And as it went on, Smutner found something else.
But that's the beauty of it, because you never know.
Yeah. Norgren very good in those final few hundred meters. Very good double poling finish. And she took second place from Kowalczyk, who led again. It's funny, skier who led for most of the final section slid down at the end. Kowalczyk in third, and Norgren in second, and Smutner opening her title defence with the win here. Let's hear now from those top skiers. They were speaking to Teemu Virtanen a little bit earlier on.
Congratulations, tough race. It seemed to me that you have some problems here and there. You had to catch up the leading pack. But can you sum up the race for me?
Ja, genau. Also ich habe vor dem Start war eine große Entscheidung für mich, ob ich überhaupt mit Wachs oder ohne Wachs laufe. Und 5 Minuten vor Start habe ich mit ohne Wachs gelaufen und das war wirklich ganz schwierig. 2 Runden war ein bisschen Krise für mich und dann war immer besser und besser und ja.
Speaking of that, skiing without the waxes that you decided in the last minute, how tough was that uphill there, the double pole?
Also ich war bei Flach war ich ein bisschen schneller als die andere. War ich immer zugemacht und ja, das war entscheidend.
And then when you guys got to the finish line, did you know that you're going to win this? Were you sure that this is mine now?
Nein, 1 Kilometer vor Ziel habe ich nicht gedacht, als ich gewinnen kann und dann, ja, das war einfach Wahnsinn.
And then finally, we have a month before the next race. What are you going to do? And the holiday season is coming up as well. How do you prepare for Jizerska?
Ich glaube, gut, ja. Jetzt ist ein Monat Pause und ich muss wieder ein bisschen trainieren und schauen wir mal.
All right, thank you very much. Take care.
Danke.
Now we're going to hear from Britta Johansson Norgren, who finished second overall in La Sgambeda. Again, she was speaking to Teemu a little bit earlier on.
All right, congratulations. Tough race. Let's go through that a little bit, because you went double poling, as you said, you're going to do that most likely in every race. But it seemed to me that it's a bit tough, that uphill over there, particularly in the last one. You were struggling a little bit there, correct?
Yeah, I was really tired in the last one, and it's tough with a hill like that on altitude. So it's, I think it was good for me to stay with them in the end, and so I'm satisfied.
So very different race from yesterday. Now you had a fast tempo right from the beginning. So can you kind of sum up the race for me? How did it feel from the first moment to the last?
I was trying to set some speed up from the beginning, and it was tough because we get a gap on the uphill and then we're together again on the flat, so it's mental, it's kind of tough. But I was trying. If we're going hard every time, every lap, so hopefully we'll be just 3-4 in the end.
And then finally, we get a month before the next one. How do you prepare for this? And the holiday season is coming up, so any special trainings during the Christmas time?
No, it's just trying to see it like a new season starts in January, so it's go home and train hard and stay focused.
And spend some time with the family.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much. See you.
Yeah, I think all the skiers are looking forward to doing some training, but also looking forward to Christmas as well. At the same time, Britta Nordgren, no different. Very, very good weekend for her overall, and she looks in good strength, in good touch, good start to the season for her, having switched teams. It can be difficult with that, with a new team set up, but she seems to be in enjoying all of that. Of course, a big part of Visma Ski Classics is the fact that we've got a lot of amateurs involved, and we're going to have a little look at that now while we wait for the flowers ceremony. So many other skiers involved, of course, across the weekend. It's an important part. This is a community race as well. You think of Sgambeda over the years. So we're just seeing the start of this here. We've got one other interview to bring you from earlier on. You might be interested to hear, of course, third in the women's race, Justyna Kowalczyk, one of the stars of skiing and of winter sports in general. And Teemu caught up with her after she finished third in the women's race for Team Santander.
Hello, how are you doing? Congratulations, tough race, tough race. Can you sum up the race for me? How did it feel? You only done Vasaloppet so far. This was your second so-called long-distance race.
I was feeling really good. I was trying to pushing all race. It's new for me. It's this tactic and everything, but I'm satisfied, and this was good race.
Speaking of a tactic, what kind of tactics did you have in your mind, or if any?
It's difficult to say it because. I first time starting this flat condition in a marathon like 25 kilometers. I was trying to have eyes open and nothing more.
And then what about the double polling? How well did you do in terms of yourself? If you rank yourself?
I don't training only double polling like my friends, but yeah, I might have good hand and arms and strong, and it's no problem.
Yeah, you look really strong. Finally, what's going to be next after this?
For a marathon, I think I will be in Marcialonga next time. My next race will be in Toblach in the World Cup.
All right, good luck and happy holidays.
Thank you so much. You too.
Always lovely to hear from Justyna Kowalczyk, and great to have her as part of Visma Ski Classics. She's a true superstar of the sport. Having to make do with third today, she won the Vasaloppet on her debut last season, but out-sprinted in the end by both Katarina Smutner and Britta Johansson Nordgren. That is the podium. Lina Korsgren again, fourth overall. Another good performance from her this weekend.
That's correct. So I think those two, Britta and Lina, will be the rising stars of this season, of course. And Kowalczyk, whenever she's she shows up, you know.
Yeah, she mentioned Marcialonga, her next appointment at the end of January. Of course, we've got a couple of races before then, the Jezerska, and then we've got La Diagonella before she'll be back in action. Sorana Bonner fifth. She was the winner last season. Maybe not the best of courses for her overall to really go on and contend for the podium today, but she'll be around as the season goes on. She always is. So there's the early standings then in the battle for the yellow bib. The perfect start to the title defence from Team Santander's Katarina Smutner. The maximum point, she gets 200 plus 50 points for having completed the time trial yesterday, 200 for the win today. Likewise, Britta Johansson Nordgren 170 for second place plus 50. So you get the drift with this, and then Lina Korsgren overall the 50 yesterday and 120 points there from her finish today. So that's how the early standings look. Long way to go, of course, and then a little look at the youth bib presented by Nordic Bet. Tuva Tofdal-Stava early on, just ahead of Emilia Lindstedt of Team Ski Pro-Am, with Jarowina of Team Mass Sport in third spot there. So that kind of wraps things up for the women's side of things in terms of the standings, in terms of lovely interviews that you conducted, Teemu, with the lead finishers in the women's race. We've obviously also heard from the men. We're waiting to set up for the flowers ceremony, the presentations, of course, just kind of the final bit of business in a way for our day before we'll leave you from here in Livigno. Just setting up for that at the moment. As I say, the mass start for some of the other amateur skiers is just getting underway here now. This is a big part of things. Big part of Ski Classics, isn't it? The fact that amateurs, not in this case starting absolutely alongside, but can ski the same course, same day, same conditions and everything. I mean, that's a great opportunity, great thing to be part of.
Yeah, and I think it works both ways. It's really great for these guys, you know, to have that opportunity. But then again, a lot of these elite skiers say that it's, for them, it's also kind of great, you know, to see the masses, see the people. Like, most of them say, like, the Vasaloppet, it's magical when you see the 15,000 people there. There's something tangible in the air, something you can't really describe unless you're there. It's great. I like it. Not just skiing, but any mass sport. You know, that's the beauty of it. That you have all these people kind of committed to doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? When everyone gets together, as you say, doing the same thing. They're going to stagger them off here. Obviously, we mentioned before with the course as it is, you're not going to get all these amateurs going at the same time. It'll be a staggered start, 2 or 3 waves, I would suggest here. This first wave will be getting underway very soon. I was actually watching mini Sgambeda yesterday afternoon. That was good fun. 3 kilometers, these little legs going around skiing 3 kilometers. I was thinking,
and enjoying it.
Yeah, I know. And they were doing it really well. They're really strong through the 3 kilometers.
Oh yes, they are.
I was like, we should get some TV coverage of mini Sgambeda going forward. There's some future stars there. It was good fun, and this promises to be as well. The amateurs preparing to ski there. Last Sgambeda.
And I'm pretty sure there are some skiers among these people as well that try to do their best here. Maybe try to test themselves a little bit, see how fast they can go compared to the elite ones.
Looks like it's 2 waves, isn't it, overall? Here they go now. Actually, 3 waves. So I missed the 3rd little band. Here they go. It is a big part of what it's about. Amateurs getting the chance, not in this case to race alongside the pros because it wasn't possible with the course, but still to ski the same course on the same day. And you don't get that opportunity too often. And they'll have to embark on the climbs that we've discussed through the commentary as well. Good luck to them as they complete all those loops.
But you know, that's part of it. You know, that's why you do this. You challenge yourself, you push yourself.
24 kilometers for them as well. 4 6-kilometer loops. We mentioned those couple of climbs in the loop, particularly the second one over on is even some of the pro skiers were finding that very, very challenging. So good luck to these guys as they embark on their last Sgambeda journey.
But it is a great sight to see all these people. That's what this sport is about.
And again, the course has held up so well as well for them now. Think about the amount of skiing now that's taken place on the course over the weekend. Still looks to be in great shape.
Yeah, it is, and that's what I noticed. You know, when I did my own skiing there, you know, that it's really a really hard course. You know, it's in terms of the snow, and they've really packed it well.
Yeah, all abilities, as you said, Tim. It's great to have amateurs getting out there onto the course, taking their opportunity. Don't actually have the exact numbers on the amateurs like last year. I think it was about 1,500 amateurs last year for Last Sgambeda took part. I don't have the exact numbers this time. I would say many more than I thought there was going to be, actually. I just naturally think because of it, an unofficial course, some people might think, that's no criticism of the organisers of the event. Just some might think, okay, maybe this wasn't what I was wanting to do, and you might get a little bit of drop-off. But actually, the numbers here
look
turnout
is great. Yeah. Look at that. And it's like, I'm amazed, you know, that many people are willing to do this.
But it's funny that, you know, you just, with the hotels we're staying up slightly into the valley, you go around, everyone goes, Last Sgambeda, Last Sgambeda. It's such a big part of the community, and everyone was worried about the course earlier on in the week when I arrived, whether it's going to happen. But that's the thing. They're going, oh, well, we know people who are skiing in the race as well. Because this predates, you know, ski classics by many years. It's a big part of the community feeling here in Livigno, and for Italians in general, actually, coming and skiing this race.
And also, what they have, I don't think they had it this year, but they have a skating race as well.
Yes.
Which is the day before, which is usually 42-kilometer skating race. So nowadays it's 3 days of racing here because of the skating first and then the Visma ski classics.
Yeah, I mean that's actually becoming more and more, isn't it? I mean, I think of the new race, Toplak Dobbiaco Cortina, which we've got on the calendar in the middle of February. They're going to have a skate race as well as part of the weekend overall. Because skate technique, skate races are very, very popular in Central Europe overall. There's some refreshment that'll be on offer as they go through. The amateurs. There's some real steam coming off that. The sights and sounds, the imagery. of the Alps, northern Italy, Lombardy here, not blessed with real snow. You take out the track, it could be summertime. Could be walking through the mountains, through the valleys here. But it is beginning of the second week of December, and here they just come over the top. Oh!
Now we see some real action.
Yeah. I can see your eyes just opening up a bit, Temu, there. What was going on? Oh, they're all coming over here over the top. Hive of activity. Oh, another person gets stuck there as well. And a faller. Oh, he's up very quickly, though. Didn't seem to lose too much ground there. Yeah, just at the top of that, they finding that pretty tricky, even just the first time round.
Yeah, and as you can see, most of these skiers, they're of course using kick waxes, and that could be the reason too.
Yeah,
you can get kind of stuck when you get there.
I mean, virtually everyone's going to have some form of wax here, aren't they, for this race? I mean, not too many are going to look to double pole the whole way around, you would think.
Maybe that's some of the top ones, like these guys here, most likely will do double poling. I would assume that some of these guys are like local skiers or skiers that are not really doing the ski classics. So they take this pretty seriously, but the rest is, as you said, amateur skiers.
It's a glorious day for them to ski. See the sun shining brightly into the valley here. Once again, as it did yesterday, temperatures getting a little bit warmer. It was colder earlier this morning than it was yesterday morning. Started off, didn't we, around -5, -5.5 degrees Celsius. It's getting warmer now again. The track does look to hold up well in those conditions. I saw that yesterday afternoon.
And the snow stays cold. It's pretty powdery snow. Even if the sun is up there, it's not really warming up the track that much.
Yeah, certainly possible to practice cross-country technique. Yeah, it's the alpine skiers who've been a bit more effective. I was just looking towards one of the more of the downhills towards Montellino, skiing a couple of days ago. It was certainly a bit of a test. Just waiting again, a little bit of a delay on the flower ceremony here, but I think we're going to be almost ready to go soon. To be set up now with that at the very least. We'll get the presentation panel on. Get the leading. And here we go now. Tuva Toftalstava, holder of the youth bib, pink women's youth bib, up first. She struggled a little bit, didn't she, in La Sgambeda overall? A little bit back for pace. Struggled to keep with it, but she holds on to the youth bib.
She still has years.
Yeah.
years to do this.
Just outperformed slightly over the weekend Emilia Lindstedt from the Ski Pro-Am outfit, who is also under 26 there. So confirming again, you've got to be 26 or under on the year where we are to be in contention for that youth bib, both the men's and the women's side. But yeah, as you say, she's got years. She seems to have such a personality as well. I mean, all the skiers say that. She's just such a fun-loving personality. Even when she's struggling, always a smile on her face.
Yeah, I think you need that, you know. I mean, of course you take this seriously. This is your job. But then again, you know, if you don't, it becomes too much, you know. You have to have fun.
So here we are then, the yellow bib. Katarina Smutner, of course, was already wearing it because she was champion last season. Perfect start to the tidal defence. Another yellow bib for her. These bibs, of course, sponsored by NordicBet, our official partner, one of our official brand new partners of Visma Ski Classics.
Thank you.
Now we will come through to the actual La Sgambeda results, the La Sgambeda podium for the women's race. Just because there's no green sprint bib for the women, so they are the only two bibs individually on the women's side of things. Smutner will be going back up onto the podium very shortly. Third place overall to be announced. Antonio Colli announcing Justina Kowalczyk. Third place, was won on her debut at the Vasaloppet last year. Out-sprinted in the end here, was perhaps eyeing up another stage victory. Third place for her overall. She just seems happy to be part of the... I think this is fantastic that someone who's done everything she's done getting her prizes from Luca Moretti, the president of Livigno Tourism here. Everything she's done, she still just seems delighted with third place here at the podium.
I was just going to say the same, you know, just smiling and so happy, just happy to be here, you know, and just to race against the, you know, these so-called marathon skiers or long-distance skiers. And as I said, she's still new, you know, this is all new to her.
Still learning, as she said. Britta Nordgren has, Britta Johansson Nordgren, been around a little bit longer. Of course, that first stage win last season at the König Ludwig Lauf. She was good yesterday in the time trial and good again here. Very strong in the sprint finish to nip in ahead of Kowalczyk for the second place overall.
Yeah, if she stays healthy and, you know, the training goes well, you know, before the next one, I think she's going to be a really good contender for this year. Really strong.
She's strong through the weekend. The Lager 157 ski team.
Austria, Team Santander,
New season, same old story. Here, Katarina Smutner on top of the podium. So consistent, of course. Last season, she's going to receive her winner's prize from Helena Julius-Moen, the marketing director of Visma, our main title sponsor, presenting the prizes to Smutner, who was second here last season. But that was the thing, she wrapped it up because she got a couple of stage wins, but she was always on the podium. This is what we remembered from last season, and now a change of team, but no change in the final result for her. Team Santander's Katarina Smutner, the winner of La Sgambeda for 2015.
That was really strong skiing from her, even if she sometimes seemed to be struggling a bit, but she's really a pro. She's an experienced one, so she knew that she could do this. Just like closing the gap and making sure that she's going to be there when the final
national anthem of the winner. Representing Austria, of course, Katarina Smutner and the anthem playing proudly out there, representing the winner of La Sgambeda, the amazing skier that she is from the Team Santander group. Leaving now, of course, having had the photo opportunities, and we'll set up, of course, for the men's side of things, the presentations. They just want a few more photos with the podium. Indeed, with all four of them. Bib holder, of course, Tuva Toftelstava.
And also what I think is nice is that, you know, there's a perfect weather, you know, for the skiers. It's not too cold, you know, after the race, because you have to remember this is a winter sport. You know, sometimes in the cold conditions you have to make sure you get warm, and you don't want to stand there, spend too much time outside after the race. Now you don't really have to worry about that. You know, just make sure you have jacket on and you know, warm clothes underneath. You know.
Yeah, jacket, a hat. That's about enough, really. So while we wait for the men, just a little look back into the amateurs who continue to make their way around. A little bit slower the pace than what we were seeing through the elites.
At least here.
Yeah, well, they've got no choice, have they, here? Up the climb. It is basically walking pace. I think I could do that.
Yeah, it's basically walking, as you said. At least there's uphill.
Yeah. Even going at that pace uphill, I think will be taxing some of them, because as you say, that's the trickiest part of this course, of this 6-kilometer loop, as we discussed in the commentary. But here they go, right through.
But think about it, in Vasalop, it's like that, you know, for the first 3 kilometers. So it might take you about an hour and a half just to get up there.
Yes.
If you're in the big mass.
It's the individual, one of the individual elements of that race, isn't it, really? With the total mass start, no staggered start. They're the only one of the Visma Ski Classics races now that doesn't actually have a staggered start, for the women having a head start on the men there. We have that now at every other race, including Marcialonga. But yeah, the amateurs continue to come round at their own pace, enjoying themselves. You liking what you're seeing from some of the technique here? There's a bit more for you to get your teeth into, Teemu, here than with the pros, perhaps.
Well, some of them actually ski pretty well, you know, but of course, you know, when you compare that to the tempo, there's a difference between tempo. That's one thing you have to, remember that when you do double poling, the tempo has increased so much nowadays.
Back with the presentation now then. The youth bib, of course, being presented. Sandra or Sivertsen, sponsorship manager of Visma Ski Classics, doing the honours there.
Signore e signori, la consegna del pettorale verde quale leader sprint della Visma Ski Classic uomini.
To Andreas Nygaard, Team Santander, Norway.
And now the green sprint bib. He just missed out on it last season. You get the sense Andreas Nygaard of Team Santander. This is a big priority for this season, this new season. And he started it in the best possible way. 2 out of 2 here, winning both sprint competitions at 6 and 12 kilometers of the course. So the maximum 80 points, already with a healthy lead over the rest there, but a long way to go. We've got 2 or 3 sprint stages at every Ski Classics race, so many points on offer. But he takes over the sprint bib from Øystein Pedersen. Stole it from him at the end in aura. Some people mentioned. I think Øystein would agree with that. Did a good job stealing it. Stealing's fine sometimes.
Yeah, I think his plan is to do focus on this sprint, you know, for this year, and then slowly kind of build his way up to the to become the contender for the yellow bib. He's still young.
The sponsor, of course, the Norwegian house manufacturing company, sponsor of the green sprint bib, and Nygaard proudly wearing it, and he'll carry that through to the Jezerska Padasaka. He'll carry it over the new year. No races, of course, until then. And the early yellow bib holder, of course. It isn't Petter Eliasson. We thought he was going to hold on to it. He's lost possession of the yellow bib. He's, of course, still the defending champion. He will be throughout the season. But the yellow bib holder is the man who finished runner-up in that competition the year before last. Jon Christian Dahl finished runner-up to Johan Kjølstad in 2014. And he will wear that into the new year, the one that they all want, really, the men's yellow bib.
And he was happy to be back, as he said. You know, this could be his season.
If he stays healthy, the guy is strong enough and experienced enough. He's definitely a big contender to win that bib come the end of the season. So there are your bib holders after the opening weekend of the Visma Ski Classics 2015-16, and they will hold those bibs through to Jezerska Padasaka, second week of January at the very least. So now we'll move to the presentation for the podium in Sgambeda. Again, it will be Jon Christian Dahl making his way back up, of course, to that top section of the podium.
Terzo classificato, third place, Team United Bakeries, Norvegia, Johan Kjølstad.
Johan Kjølstad then, of Team United Bakeries, the yellow bib champion from 2014. A bad injury he had just before Jezerska last season, ruined last season for him. Called it a catastrophe to me on Friday. Good choice of word. But this time he's fit and healthy, and despite he mentioned to you, Teemu, that he was struggling a little bit with the altitude here. That's a solid effort to get third in there, be right in contention to the end of this race today.
Yeah, and he was happy to take the third place. You know, as you said, you know, that proved to him, you know, that he's back.
Getting his prize from again from Luca Moretti, the president of Livigno Tourism. They get that cheese. Maybe they'll tuck into some of that now with a few weeks off before the Jezerska. I think there's so much other other bad food around on offer at Christmas, isn't there, at New Year? That stuff's good, though. So maybe you take part in a bit of that. What a race from this guy. We talked a lot. Didn't talk so much about him. Eugenie Dementiev. You mentioned Teemu, he's an experienced guy, the Russian. Great sprint put together there at the end and getting a big cheer because, of course, he represents one of the Italian teams, Team Futura Robinson Pet Shop. Big points for them. Big points for him. Runner-up in Sgambeda.
And we'll see him again in Serska.
He's pretty happy talking to you as well with his performance. He was very strong in the sprint there at the end. He could have easily stolen that at the end. It was nothing between. It was a photo finish between him and Dahl.
Yeah, he said he felt really strong.
Yeah.
Happy winner.
You bet. Second Team United Bakeries man on the podium. We mentioned that their sprinting prowess might be important here, and Scholstad was strong. Dahl was even stronger. His second ski classic stage win of his career. He won the Vasaloppet in 2014. Nothing since then. Last season was difficult for him as well with illness, but he's strong here, getting his prize from the Visma main sponsor again, Helena Jullesmern, the marketing director of Visma. Jon Christian Dahl, the champion of La Sgambeda for 2015. You hear a lot of that in winter sports, the Norwegian national anthem. Another rendition of it there, representing not just the victory actually for Jon Christian Dahl, but the team, of course. Team United Bakeries will get the team classification, the preliminary classification just before we leave you, but clearly they've done very well for themselves with first and third on the podium there in the men's race. That's a combination of team standings through each race. You get the points, the podium, and then you get also the sprint points as well. So Santander will do well there with Neergaard's 80 points there. Let me look at the women's results as well. Look at the men's final results then. Dahl in that photo finish from Dementiev with Scholstad in third, completing the podium. Morten Eder Pedersen in fourth. Then a couple of Santander boys rounding out the top six. You look further down, Petter Eliasson will be a bit disappointed. He looked like he was judging the race really well, but he got out sprinted in the end with about half a kilometre or so to go, and he slipped down to only 10th spot. So not the best of starts, but a long way to go in the title defence for him. A couple of other experienced skiers well down the race as well. Daniel Rickardsson and Stanislav Rezach as well, down in that second section.
And we also have to point out the amazing race from Anders Aukland again. You know, 60, you know, the old guy, you know, this definitely not his kind of race.
And they're the early standings as well, of course. We only have La Sgambeda to go on all these skiers getting 50 points as well for completing the Pro Team Tempo yesterday. So it's their points for this La Sgambeda plus 50 is what you've got, and Dahl leading the way at the moment. But again, an awfully long way to go. There's the sprint standings. Neergaard winning both of the first two sprint stages in the sprint bib, sponsored, of course, by Soldarskytte, the Norwegian company. And you can see they're already a 50-point advantage over Pedersen and Nussiainen. But we've got a lot more to go there as well. If you think of all the other stages, I think it's something like 17, 18 sprint competitions to come. The youth bib, Stian Erlegaard, we saw first of all, outperforming Anders Host and Marcus Johansson as well. Of Lager 157 nipping in, but just one race completed. So that bib could be a good battle actually between those three. Erlegaard could give Host some real issues. These are the team standings we talked about. Santander overall just 5 points clear. We remember last season where they finished 30 points clear. We were watching the women's finish at the end ahead of United Bakeries. This could go right to the wire, couldn't it, Teemu? And after the first race weekend, it is that way.
Yeah, it's going to be really tight. It's going to be an interesting season in terms of the, the teams.
And then you see that next section as well. Robinson Pet Shop Team Futura and skistart.com and the others as well. That's going to be exciting as well to see who can get in ahead of the rest. Likely to be some changes in that over the season. We look back at some of the highlights of the day. I suppose we just get your comments overall, Tamer, just a couple of brief words summarising the opening weekend of the Visma Ski Classics 2015-16 season.
Well, perfect weather, perfect, you know, ski races both yesterday and then today. It's good to see some new faces. It was good to have a new winner today. Eliasson tried his best, but couldn't. Of course, the distance was shorter, but it's now we have the first season, the first race of the season behind us. So I think it's going to be a perfect season to come. Hopefully, we'll get some snow for the next one, so we get the real distance going there for the 50K. But overall, I think, you know, everyone's happy. You see a lot of smiling faces, you know, and you know, the good tempo race like this. It's always good to see something like this happening, and I think the athletes were pretty happy as well.
Go along with all of that. That was a fantastic finish, wasn't it, to the women's race? That's how they finished up. Sgambeda on the women's side. They anticipated good finishes, and it was the case there. And of course, with the men as well, even more so. They're still out there at the moment, still plying their trade.
We'll be there for a while.
In terms of the elite men, it was a thrilling race, which was absolutely in doubt right to the end. You see this photo finish Dahl just nipping in ahead of Dementiev. What a start to this season provided by the men there. So there we are then, some of the highlights of the day. Visma Ski Classics now will take a break over Christmas and New Year. We return Sunday, 10th of January. Put it in your diaries. Jezerska Padasaka, third event of the Visma Ski Classics season, 50 kilometers in Bedřichov in the Czech Republic. That is our next stop on the calendar in this 2015-16 season. It remains for me to thank Teemu Virtanen and our entire talented team. Thank you for your company as well. For now, from Teemu and myself, Guy McCree, goodbye from Livigno.
Thank you.
Yeah.